Ancient Egyptians created their literature throughout millennia, utilizing three distinct writing systems called hieroglyphs. There exist three types of hieroglyphs: hieratic, demotic, and hieroglyphic. Hieroglyphic signs originate from hieratic script. The first was an image of an object, and the second was a document. We streamlined the characters to facilitate their writing. In the third iteration, the characters rapidly forfeit their pictorial representation. Consequently, they transformed into mere symbols. The Egyptian deity Tahuti, alternatively referred to as Thoth, is credited with the invention of these objects. Thus God manifested his intellect, wisdom, and consciousness. The heavens, the earth, and the figures in the pictorial hieroglyphs were once regarded as sacred or divine. Certain religious texts were regarded as possessing distinct virtues. It was believed that Thoth authored the chapters and sections of his book in hieroglyphs. The deceased derived significant advantage from their existence and possess considerable power. Hieroglyphic inscriptions embellish their coffins. The initial astronomer Thoth identified numerical systems, calculated the sun, moon, and stars' trajectories, and organized the seasons. He is regarded as the originator of all human illustrations. He was reputed to possess comprehensive knowledge, both celestial and terrestrial. Art can be created through painting and carving. His artistic methods encompassed painting and carving. The deities maintained their annals, wherein humanity documented their actions. His extensive knowledge significantly enlightened him, leading the Egyptians to appoint him as chief judge of the dead. This capability compelled him to pursue the truth perpetually. The deity of malevolence, Set, perpetrated offenses against Osiris during a celestial tribunal. It is asserted that Thoth fulfilled this role in antiquity. Thoth conducted investigations into the perpetration of crimes. Evidence demonstrated to the deities that Osiris spoke the truth while Set was deceitful. Consequently, every Egyptian beseeched Thoth to intercede on their behalf, as he did for Osiris, enabling them to be judged on the day of the Great Judgment. He would oversee the assessment of his heart's weight. He either motivated a sacred scribe or was the source of inspiration himself. It was believed that religious texts were authored during all epochs. They regarded astrological knowledge as their foundation. No comparable books existed globally. This is the reason for its uniqueness. Egypt is renowned globally for its repositories of knowledge and wisdom. The ancient Books of Thoth state that Egypt had a population of 36,525 individuals. The indigenous people and outsiders trusted it similarly to our contemporary reliance. These texts were thought to encompass Thoth, the twice great and three times great deity. Scribes, capable of attaining any rank or dignity, were regarded as the most esteemed among the educated and received substantial rewards. In the papyri and monuments, Thoth is depicted alongside a dog-headed ape named Aston and an ibis-headed figure called Thoth. In the Hall of the Great Judgment, Thoth inscribes the outcomes of the heart's weighing on a pallet. The deities accepted Thoth's account unconditionally and dispensed rewards and punishments to the virtuous and malevolent. Thoth's role as the righteous judge and the creator of the laws regulating heaven, earth, and deities remained consistent throughout Egypt. The Egyptians utilized various materials for writing, with wood, skin, and papyrus being the most prevalent. These materials presumably contained the earliest inscriptions in black or red ink. The Egyptians utilized metals for the first time to carve their writings into stone. Circa 3700 BC, Menkaura, a monarch of the 4th dynasty, reigned. An alabaster block was discovered in one of the earliest sections of the Book of the Dead. As the demand for longer texts or inscriptions arose, men utilized wood as a writing medium, partly due to the challenges associated with carving stone. At the British Museum, one can observe wooden coffins adorned with interiors inscribed with religious texts in ink, akin to those on paper. Ancient Egyptians utilized sheepskin or goatskin as a writing medium, although its application was infrequently prevalent. Only a limited number of ancient Egyptian documents were inscribed on skin, or, more accurately, on parchment. During the archaic Egyptian period, the Egyptians perfected the production of papyrus, a paper form. Papyrus originated from the papyrus plant, which thrived in the marshes of Lower Egypt and the shallow waters of the annual Nile inundation. The exact timing of the discovery remains ambiguous. However, the hieroglyphic inscriptions from the early dynasties depict an image of a papyrus roll, suggesting that the use of papyrus is exceedingly ancient. Some of the earliest instances of inscribed papyrus include records attributed to King Asa, 4th dynasty 3400 BC. These can be located in Saqqara, roughly 20 miles south of Cairo. The papyrus plant in Egypt was smaller than the variety present in Syria. It is no longer found in Egypt but in the swamps of Egyptian Sudan, where it can attain a height of 25 feet. Roots and stems, frequently thicker than a man's arm, are incinerated for fuel, while the substantial, rounded head is boiled and ingested as a vegetable in certain regions. The Egyptians produced their paper from this plant by slicing the inner stem into narrow strips, with the width determined by the stem's thickness and the length varying according to length. The strips were arranged lengthwise and crosswise to form a sheet of papyrus. Each papyrus sheet consisted of 2 layers adhered together by glue, water, or gum. And according to Pliny, a Roman author, Nile water in a turbid condition contained gum, which possesses adhesive properties similar to glue, utilized to bond 2 layers of strips. Residues of gum have also been discovered on papyri. Placing and sun-drying papyrus sheets could produce rolls of virtually any length. The sheets were prepared for use after being polished with a potent device. The most substantial artifact in the British Museum, the Harris Papyrus No. 1, measures 133 feet in length and 16.5 inches in height, while the second largest, the Book of the Dead, measures 123 feet in length and 18.5 inches in height. It comprises 2,666 lines of text, organized into 172 columns. Standard composition rolls typically measured less than 20 feet in length and were only 8 to 10 inches in height. The scribe amalgamated pigments on his palette. A palette typically comprised alabaster, wood, ivory, or slate, measuring between 8 to 16 inches in length and 2 to 3.5 inches in width, with all 4 corners square. A circular or oval recess was created at one end of the palette to contain paint or ink. A groove traversed the center, square at one end and sloping at the opposite end, designed to insert writing reeds. These were secured by adhering a wooden piece across the center of the palette, or by sliding a cover over them, which also safeguarded the reeds. Typically, inscriptions adorn the sides of this groove, featuring the owner's name, prayers to deities for funerary offerings, or invocations to Thoth, the inventor of writing. A minimal quantity of gum was likely incorporated into the black ink utilized by the scribes, which was composed of lamp-black or finely pulverized charcoal combined with water. The colors red and yellow were derived from mineral earth or ochres, blue from lapis lazuli powder, green from copper sulfate, and white from lime white. Occasionally, the scribe deposited the ink in small, broad-mouthed Egyptian porcelain or alabaster vessels. A diminutive stone molar ground the scribe's pigments on a stone slab. The writing reed utilized as a pen measured between 8 and 10 inches in length and had a diameter ranging from 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch. The tip was bruised rather than cut. In the late medieval period, individuals used thicker reeds to trim the ends like a quill or steel pen. These writing reeds were contained in specialized wooden and metal boxes. The Egyptian rooms of the British Museum house numerous examples of Egyptian writing materials. Due to the high cost of papyrus, Students practiced exercises and transcribed standard literary works on finely textured white limestone slabs or slate-like boards whitened with lime. They utilized copies inscribed by the instructor on somewhat larger limestone slabs. Masons transcribed inscriptions from temple and monument walls onto these slabs, utilizing perpendicular and horizontal lines to establish proportions for sculpted kings and deities. Damaged earthenware vessels were utilized for writing practice, and during the Ptolemaic and Roman eras, inventories, correspondence, and tax documents were inscribed on potsherds. The Copts, or Egyptian Christians, utilized sliced limestone and potsherds for drafts of scriptures and notes, akin to their forebears when skin and parchment were as costly as papyrus. When not used, papyrus rolls were secured by a string or papyrus cord tied in a bow. Occasionally, a clay seal inscribed with the owner's name was affixed to the cord. Historically, precious rolls were preserved in wooden containers, referred to as book boxes, which were placed in a designated chamber or house, commonly known as the House of Books or the library. Following the discussion of the principal writing materials utilized by the ancient Egyptians, we shall succinctly explore the diverse categories of preserved Egyptian literature. The designation pyramid texts refers to the extensive hieroglyphic inscriptions found within the chambers and corridors of the 5 pyramids at Saqqara. Unas, a monarch of the 5th dynasty, constructed the oldest pyramid. Teta, Pepi II, Merenra, and Pepi II, all sovereigns of the 6th dynasty, erected the remaining 4. Dr. Brugsch's calculations originally situated them between 3,300 and 3,150 BC, whereas contemporary theories suggest a date approximately 700 years later. The texts represent the earliest known religious literature, as they encompass dogmas and beliefs that predate the Masons' assignment to excavate the interiors of the pyramids during the 6th dynasty by millennia. Before the advent of writing, the priests likely authored specific sections for the deceased in early Egypt, which were recited upon each king's death. Initially, the funerary priests memorized the texts and transmitted them orally through successive generations. Ultimately, the Egyptians resolved to document their knowledge after acquiring proficiency in writing and confronting the peril of amnesia. The pyramid texts were inscribed on papyri over 2,000 years after their original composition, and specific segments from the 6th dynasty's texts were integrated into the extensive Theban Book of the Dead. While the pyramid texts offer substantial insights into the religious beliefs of ancient Egyptians and unique historical facts, the significance of numerous passages will remain enigmatic due to their depiction of life and climatic conditions that are challenging for contemporary understanding. The meanings of specific words remain obscure, the spelling is peculiar and frequently inexplicable, the sentence structure deviates from that of later texts, and the concepts articulated are entirely alien to contemporary students, who are disconnected from the primitive Egyptian Africans whose beliefs these words embody. In 1880, the Frenchman Mariette discovered the pyramid texts at Saqqara. Inscriptions were engraved on paper for Professor Maspero, the director of the Service of Antiquities in Egypt, from which he produced a hieroglyphic edition of all 5 texts, accompanied by translations predominantly in French. Professor Maspero demonstrated an unparalleled comprehension of the authentic significance of numerous ancient documents, which he precisely characterized. Despite the assistance derived from the discovery and examination of additional texts and the endeavors of other scholars, his work will persist as the cornerstone of all future inquiries for an extended period. The king was the exclusive beneficiary of all religious funerary activities in Egypt. The pyramid texts and the earlier texts cited facilitate the king's magnificent resurrection and guarantee his contentment in the afterlife and his eternal existence. He was anticipated to ascend as the sovereign of heaven. akin to his reign on earth. Specifically, he was expected to govern the deities, command all celestial forces, and guide the virtuous spirits, mirroring the dominion exercised by his forebears, the kings of Egypt, over their corporeal realms. Consequently, they feared that their king, an embodiment of the great god, might perish a second time in the other world, despite being resurrected via the pyramid texts. They exercised caution and endeavored to secure his survival in the Tuat or other world. These texts comprise spells, prayers, hymns, and incantations to safeguard the king's life. Numerous methods exist to accomplish this. The initial step involved supplying daily offerings in the funerary temples associated with each pyramid. A meticulously chosen and officially designated priest presented the offerings one by one, reciting a formula thought to transmute the physical food into a spiritual essence that would fulfill the kai, or double, or vigor of the deceased monarch. Failing to provide the deceased king's spirit with a new existence was deemed a transgression against its essence. Additionally, a separate series of rituals were required to open the mouth of the deceased monarch, reinstating his faculties of respiration, cognition, speech, gustation, olfaction, and ambulation. For these ceremonies, offering provisions, garments, fragrances, and ointments was imperative, everything the king might require in the afterlife. All these items were prepared for the king's spirit in the other world. The remains of enslaved individuals executed by monarchs in ancient times were interred in tombs, while their souls transitioned to the other world to serve the spirit of their king, mirroring the service their bodies rendered on earth. Like the earthly monarch's reliance on subjugated individuals, a sovereign in the other world requires an entourage, a protective detail, and numerous attendants. Individuals feared that the king would be assaulted or harmed by malevolent spirits, deities, and lethal creatures, including snakes and other harmful reptiles, due to his adversaries in this realm. A priest devised numerous incantations that, when correctly articulated, were thought to safeguard him from assaults by adversaries of all varieties concerning his tomb, mummified remains, and spirit. The predominant manifestation of such incantations was prayer. The artifacts from the pyramid period were remarkably ancient, rendering them incomprehensible to the scribes of that era. At the time of writing, the Egyptians' belief system was still evolving, resulting in a greater emphasis on magic than religion. During the composition of the pyramid texts, it was believed that prayers from the living could safeguard the well-being of souls and spirits in the afterlife. Consequently, numerous prayers for the deceased, hymns devoted to the deities on their behalf, and excerpts from various ancient religious manuscripts exist. When the deities and benevolent spirits presented offerings to the deceased and recited them, they were assured that the souls of the departed would receive particular consideration and assistance from the gods and their accompanying good spirits. The inscriptions demonstrate that the Egyptians of the 6th dynasty prioritized prayers over magical spells and incantations. In contrast, the Egyptians started to dismiss their belief in the effectiveness of magic and cultivated greater spiritual confidence. The development was influenced by several factors, the most notable being the remarkable expansion of Osiris's religion, which had proliferated across Egypt before the conclusion of the 6th dynasty. Regardless of status, every faith adherent has assured an afterlife through the tribulations, demise, and resurrection of Osiris, the embodiment of the powerful primordial deity who fashioned the heavens and the earth. Excerpts exemplify the overarching themes of the pyramid texts. The earliest dynasties utilized a statue of a deceased king to conduct the opening of the mouth ceremony. The ceremonies were presided over by the deceased's son, Kerheb, priests and ministers, Samaref, Sem, Smer, Amas, Amkent, and assistants Mesentiu. The statue was anointed with 7 types of oils. Its eyes were adorned with pigment, water was sprinkled before it, and incense was ignited. After the statue was cleansed and adorned, funerary offerings were presented before it. During the ceremony, a uniquely shaped instrument known as the pesh kef was applied to the statue's lips to facilitate the cutting of the bandages covering the deceased king's mouth in his tomb, thereby allowing it to open. Subsequently, the liturgy of opening the mouth evolved into the Book of Opening the Mouth, significantly broadening its scope. Initially, incense was ignited, and the priest intoned, "Thou art pure." He sprinkled water upon the statue, proclaiming, "Thou art pure. Thy purifications are those of Horus." This incantation was reiterated thrice, once invoking Set, once invoking Horus, and once again invoking Set. Thoth was formerly known by that designation. It was also known as September. Keb presented your cranial and skeletal remains prior to your arrival. A priest conducted 5 ceremonies, offering various types of incense. The priest declared, "You are pure. The 2 vases of Thoth have revealed to you what resides in Horus's eyes, and they have cleansed you so that the destructive power inherent to you may not manifest. You are pure. You are pure. Pure is the semen incense that unseals your mouth. Experience it in the sacred abode." The incense of Seman is the exhalation of Horus. It fortifies the heart of Horus Set and purifies the deities who accompany Horus. Natron serves as the incense of Seman. As a deity, you are distinguished. Your mouth resembles a calf nursing on its inaugural day of existence. Reprimanded, you have been reprimanded. You are unblemished. I have confidence in you. Your brothers deify you. You are perceived as a deity. You are reprimanded. Your bones have been purified. No deterioration within you can impact you. The eye of Horus resides within you. Your face is replete with it. Incense envelops you. In the 9th ceremony, a priest embodied the king, signifying his rebirth. While pretending to be deceased, the priest reclined on a small bed, enveloped in a bull's skin. Representing the king's resurrection, the priest arose from the bull's skin and sat up after the chief priest intoned, "O my father," 4 times. The chief priest subsequently proclaimed that the king was alive and must remain, as he was identical to Horus in every respect. While the priest adorned himself with a specific vestment, he proclaimed, "I cherish my father and his metamorphosis. I have created a substantial statue of him. Horus cherishes those who cherish him." The priest embraced the statue and proclaimed, "I am your son. I am Horus. Your mouth has been restrained." As the high priest proclaimed, "I have liberated this eye from his mouth. I have severed his leg." It signified that the king had been rescued and that a severe injury had been inflicted upon Set, the deity of death. During these ceremonies, the sacrificed animals perished. The slaughter of the foes of the deceased king symbolized his triumph and demise: 2 bulls, gazelles, geese, and others. "Hail, Osiris! I have accepted you. I am Horus. I have applied pressure to your mouth. I am your cherished son. I have solidified your mouth. I have positioned your teeth correctly." Each bull's heart and foreleg were offered to the statue, and the priest proclaimed, "Hail, Osiris! I come to accept you. I am Horus. I have called upon you, Osiris. Greetings." Subsequently, the priest, wielding 2 metallic tools, feigned the act of severing the statue's eyes and proclaimed, "I have unsealed your mouth and eyes. Anpu's tool has unsealed your mouth. Both of your eyes are ajar." The tool employed by the deities to articulate, "I have unsealed your lips." Horus unsealed both Osiris's mouth and eyes. Just as he opened his father's mouth, Horus similarly opened Osiris's mouth. Using the identical Meska iron instrument that he employed to open the mouths of the gods, he shall similarly open my father's mouth, akin to the iron that emerges from Set. He will walk and converse, and his form will accompany the great company of the gods dwelling in the great house of the Aged One, the sun god residing in Anu. Horus, humanity's sovereign, shall bestow the Urt crown upon him. Hallelujah! Using the instruments Sibur and An, Horus unsealed your mouth and the mouths of the deities of the south. Divine words of power originate from all deities. These constitute their recitations. Through them you shall survive. Through them you gain dual strength. You create the movements that provide vital energy and the energy enveloping you. Among the doubles you shall modify your form at your convenience. You are not in peril among the deities. You shall ascend to the throne of the south. You shall become the king of the north. Your strength is equivalent to that of all the deities and their counterparts. My name is Shu. You have been provided with the equipment. He has elevated you to the pinnacle of heaven. These marvels are abundant. He has bestowed upon you strength. During the ensuing ceremonies, they adorned the statue of the king and provided him with sustenance. The king in the afterlife was presented with various bandlets and a collar, each endowing him with extraordinary attributes. As these and other offerings were made, a priest intoned potent incantations that revitalized the king's double within the statue, and with each recitation, the king's existence in the afterlife was rejuvenated. Another significant work was the liturgy of funerary offerings. During the opening ceremonies, the deceased were anointed with water infused with salt, natron, and other purifying agents, while incense was burned to sanctify them. Subsequently, approximately 50 varieties of food and beverages were presented, including fruit, flowers, vegetables, wine, ointments, and garments befitting a king. Even in the earliest dynasties, Egyptian religion underscored the belief in the efficacy of sacrifices and offerings, as evidenced in the ancient pyramid texts. The priest presented each item to the spirit of the king, residing in the Tuat chamber of the tomb, reciting incantations intended to transform the object's essence into a substance that would sustain the king's spirit in the afterlife. About its life-sustaining properties, each object was designated as the Eye of Horus. Below are excerpts from the Liturgy of Funerary Offerings. I offer this libation to you, Osiris. I offer this libation to you, Unas. Cold water is present in the north. It emerges before thy son and before Horus. I have delivered the Eye of Horus to rejuvenate your spirit. This water originated from you, and I have brought it to you, placing it beneath your sandals. You shall never lose your spirit, and your offerings shall remain perpetual. Upon your command they shall manifest. Repeat 4 times. You have acquired the 2 eyes of Horus, the white and the black, which, when positioned upon your visage, illuminate it. Kindly accept 2 vessels of wine, 1 white and 1 black. In the heavens, day has presented an offering to you. In both the north and south, tributes have been made to you. Individuals have made offerings to you. Observe the tribute brought forth. Heed its significance. A sacrifice has been rendered before you, a gift has been bestowed behind you, and a sacrifice has been made alongside you. Kindly accept this cake. Presented to you, Osiris Unas, are Horus white teeth that will fill your mouth. I offer you 5 clusters of onions. Offer to Unas the various forms of worship dedicated to you, O Rushal. Unas's double shall accept all you furnish for your corporeal form, and vice versa. Present the sacred table. Apply yourself upon Unas's forehead, O oils, and impart a pleasant fragrance through your essence. The finest cedar oil is available here. We have presented the Eye of Horus to you, Osiris Unas, for exhibition. Transform him into a spirit soul, Q, through your possessions, and bestow the ability to command his body upon him. Unveil his eyes so all spirit souls perceive him and recognize his name. The subsequent hymns from the pyramid texts include one dedicated to Nut, the sky goddess, and another to Ra, the sun god. Nut, you have elevated yourself above your son, Osiris Pepi. You have rescued him from Set's grasp. Unite him with yourself. You approach, seizing your son. Behold the one who comes, shaping this powerful being in your likeness. Place your trust in your son, the Osiris Pepi. Nut, he is one of your offspring, O great designer. Keb was irrational. In the womb of your mother, Tefnut, you were a formidable goddess. Ensure Pepi's vitality, he shall not perish. Your heart was fervent. Within the mother's womb, you sprang forth in the name of Nut. Transform Pepi into a spiritual essence within you, daughter of the north, adorned like royalty. O great lady, who emerged from the heavens and possesses great power, you take pleasure in bestowing joy upon all beings and saturate every realm with your enchanting essence. The entirety of the earth is earth to you. You have triumphed over it. You have encompassed the world. All is within your grasp. Bestow upon this Pepi the quality of an everlasting star. You have united yourself with Keb under the title Pet. As the sovereign of the earth, you Earth's dominion over your progenitor, Shu. Consequently, you have encompassed all deities with your vessel. You have illuminated them like lamps, preventing him from departing from you in the name of hurt. Please, in the name of hurt, ensure that this Pepi does not abandon you. The hymn to the sun god is as follows. Salutations, Keprer, the creator. You are the supreme, known as Height. You emerged under the designation Keprer. Salutations to you, Eye of Horus, creator of all. He provides entirely by his own efforts. He prohibits you from complying with those from the west. One cannot emulate those from the east. He does not allow you to pursue the south. Do not comply with those from the north. The world will not allow you to pursue those on earth. Earth has provided you with a residence, constructed a dwelling for you, and created a sense of home. You comply with him wherever he travels. You elevate the avian within him. He elevates the waterfowl poised to enter. Every tree is elevated towards him. He enhances every tree within you. You elevate his cakes and ale from within yourself. He raises the cakes and ale that you will partake of to him. You present to him the gifts contained within you. The gifts you will soon possess are elevated to him. You elevate all that resides within you to him. You present to him everything that is imminent. Position them as he desires in every location, then deliver them to him. The doors of the stand fast closed as though you were the deity Anmutef. They do not permit visitors from the west. They remain inaccessible to individuals in the east. Individuals from the north are prohibited from entering. The doors are inaccessible to southerners, access to the earth to all except Horus. The deity Set created them, ensuring their resilience and safeguarding them from all malevolent assaults he directed at them. He founded you as a steadfast nation, designating you Kirkut. He subsequently associated with you under Nut, and rescued you from every nefarious onslaught Set unleashed upon you. The subsequent passages depict a celestial king and his bliss in that realm. The sky has withdrawn the life from Septet, Sothis, the dog star. Behold Una, son of Septet. The 18 gods have blessed him in Meska, the great bear. Una's house in the sky will not perish, nor does his throne. Men pray there, and the gods fly there. Unas flew to heaven to be with his brethren, the gods, when Septet made him fly. Nut, the great lady, opened her arms to Unas. Under the leadership of Ra, the souls of Anu have formed into 2 divine souls. Unas comes forth into heaven through you, Ra. He gives it to no one else. She made 2 women cry when you were on your bier. The face of Unas is like that of hawks. The wings are like geese, and the nails of Unas are like those of Tuf. There is no bad word about Unas on earth among men. The gods do not speak hostilely about him. He has destroyed his word. He has risen up to heaven. Unas flies up to heaven among his brothers, the gods. Unas has folded his arms like the smen goose. He strikes his wings like a falcon flying. O men, Unas flies up to heaven. Isis asked her companions upon their arrival at Rut-Tete, "How is it that we performed no miracle for the children, which we could have presented to their father, who permitted our departure without requesting a favor?" They concealed themselves within the sacred barley crowns, akin to those of the Lord, the King, embodying life, strength, and health. They summoned rain and tempest from the heavens, returning to Rouse's residence, where they instructed, "Allow the barley to remain in a sealed chamber until we dance our way back to the north." Thus they complied. After their 14-day seclusion, Rut-Tete questioned one of her handmaidens, "Is the house prepared?" The handmaiden informed her everything was prepared except for the jars of barley drinks. Rut-Tete inquired about their absence, to which the handmaiden responded that no barley was available in the house except for that belonging to the dancing goddesses, stored in a chamber sealed with their seal. Upon learning that her husband Rouser would compensate her for what she took upon his return, Rut-Tete instructed the handmaiden to retrieve some barley. After the handmaiden opened the chamber, she was met with loud cries, shouts, music, singing, dancing, and all the sounds associated with celebrating a king's birth. She reported this to Rut-Tete. When Rut-Tete entered the room, she could not identify the source of the noises, but she sensed they emanated from within the box when she pressed her temple against it. She subsequently placed the small box into a larger box, which she inserted into another box, sealed it, and encased it in leather. She stored it in a chamber designated for her barley, beer, or wine jar, and closed the door. Upon Rouser's return from the fields, Rut-Tete shared all the events with him, filling his heart with joy as he and his wife sat down to enjoy themselves. A few days after this, Rut-Tete fought with her handmaiden, slapping her well. The handmaiden was angry, and in front of the household she said to this effect, "How can you treat me this way? Who can destroy you? She had given birth to 3 kings, and I will let King Khufu know." In her opinion, Khufu would kill the children and perhaps their parents if he knew of the views of Rouser and Rut-Tete regarding the future of their 3 sons, as well as the prophecies of the goddesses. In her MBI memory, she told the king that the handmaiden had gone to her uncle, whom she had found weaving flax on the walk. She told him what had happened, and said she would tell the king about the 3 children. Rather than receiving support or sympathy from her uncle, he gathered several strands of flax into a thick rope and beat her vigorously with it. She went to the river or canal to fetch some water, and while filling her pot, a crocodile grabbed her and carried her away. Upon visiting Rut-Tete's residence to discuss the recent events, the uncle discovered her seated with her head lowered, weeping. "O lady, what is the cause of your sorrow?" she asked him. Her sorrow stemmed from a recently departed handmaiden who threatened to disclose the birth of the 3 kings, a handmaiden native to the locale. With a sympathetic nod, the handmaiden's uncle recounted her visit to disclose her intentions, detailing how he had severely punished her with a flax rope and how she subsequently went to the river for water but was seized by a crocodile. "Your groups, the gods that embrace Osiris, arrive in heaven, and the gods of the west, east, south, and north should dedicate themselves to him. He is son Horus by his fingers. He shall announce and make him rise like the great god in the sky. They will cry out concerning Unas, the son of Osiris Horus, the firstborn son of Hathor, Unas. Unas is the offspring of Keb. In response to Osiris' command, Unas has been appointed the second Horus, and the 4 spirit souls of Anu have issued an edict to both gods in the sky. As Ra set up the ladder in front of Osiris, Horus set one in front of Osiris when he went to his spirit, while Unas stood between them. This is the god of the pure seats emerging from the bath. some stand up, such as Horus. When they see Unas rising as a soul, in the form of the god who lives upon his fathers and who turns his mother into his food, the skies fall, the star gods tremble, the archers quake, the bones of the Akeru gods tremble, and those with them are dumbfounded. Unas, as formidable as Temu, has garnered reverence in the heavens, rendering his mother unaware of his name. Consequently, Una surpassed his father in strength following Temu's birth of him. Unas's doubles, representing his vital strength, are positioned behind him. His feet are beneath him. His deities are above him. Serpents rest upon his forehead. His serpent guides are in front of him, and the flame gazes upon him. He is safeguarded by the forces of Unas. In paradise, Unas is a bull. His actions are guided by his volition. Each deity assumes the form of their choosing. Those who approach the lake of fire to satiate their hunger with enchanted talismans are consumed by him. Unas can combat the spirits of these men, rising as a formidable figure and a sovereign among those who wield authority. Unas has seated himself with his back to Keb, the earth god. On that day, the firstborn, Unas, carefully considered his words in the presence of the unnamed hidden god. Unas, the lord of offerings and the untier of the knot, provides plentiful meat and drink offerings. In his endeavors, Unas dispatches emissaries whom he consumes and sustains himself on the deities. Individuals who sever hirsute crowns constrain the deities in the fields with cords. These Tep herds them, leading them to Unas for execution, where the cord master restrains them. Unas dispatches Kensu, the vanquisher of the malevolent, to eliminate them, while Shesmu dismembers and simmers their remains in his nocturnal cauldrons as she performs her duties. As Unas consumes their magical abilities, he devours their spiritual essences. The affluent receive their meals at dawn, the less fortunate at dusk, and the most destitute at night. He incinerates ancient deities as fuel for his furnace. The celestial beings ignite the flames beneath the cauldrons filled with the thighs of the firstborn, while the deity who commands the heavenly hosts ignites the fire with the thighs of women beneath the cauldrons. As he encircles the banks of the celestial Nile, he traverses the entirety of the two heavens. Unas is the supreme entity, the paramount force, and the principal deity in tangible manifestations, embodying the utmost power. He consumes any food he encounters, and Unas's magical power surpasses that of all celestial spirits. Unas is the primogenitor of the primordial deities. Unas appears to be encircled by thousands, with hundreds presenting offerings to him. Sa, Orion, the progenitor of the gods, reveals him as the supreme force. Unas, the sovereign of the horizon, reiterates his ascent into the celestial realm. Bandlets and arm rings of his captives are enumerated, and the hearts of the gods belong to him. Unas has consumed red and white crowns. Intestines serve as his sustenance and compassion, while their potent words constitute his nourishment. When Unas ingests what the red crown produces, he amplifies. Having consumed the entirety of divine knowledge, he acts according to his desires, refrains from actions he detests, and remains eternally on the horizon. Some houses contain the souls of gods. Thus sacrifices made to them surpass those made to the deities. Unas embodies their essence. Their spirits remain with their kin. Their remains harbor Unas' flame. Unas has coexisted with the two concealed Ka deities. The core of his being dwells among those who have eternally inhabited the earth. The subsequent passage from the later pyramid texts states, "The god Nu generated Pepi in a time devoid of heaven, earth order, and in the absence of conflict, when the eye of Horus was yet to be recognized. In Anuolis, Pepi is a great offspring, unconquered and ungoverned by any king, whose utterances remain unassailable. Consequently, Pepi is invincible. No monarch or leader can defeat him. Pepi's adversaries cannot prevail. Pepi is devoid of deficiencies. Pepi is free of debts. The absence of prey inhibits the growth of his long nails. Osiris will elevate Pepi from the water, the two companies of the gods will support him on their shoulders, and Ari will extend his hand wherever he may be. The earth god, Keb, will raise Pepi from the ground. The two companies of the gods will carry him on their shoulders, and Ar, regardless of his location, will offer his hand to him. The eternal stars encircle Pepi in the heavens. In the field of offerings, his sister, Sothis, the dog star, and his guide, Venus, lead him by the hand. As he assumes his position on the crystal throne, his visage is embellished with fierce lions, and his feet are adorned with the hooves of bull Smaur. A scepter and staff are in his grasp as he stands before the two great gods. The Hen Mehmet spirits bow to him when he raises his hand. Pepi serves as a judge of the gods in the presence of the two great gods. He conveys the words of every spirit soul, and the two companies of the gods present offerings to him. The Westcar Papyrus, housed in the Royal Museum in Berlin, comprises brief narratives concerning the extraordinary exploits of ancient Egyptian magicians. In 1839, Miss Westcar of Whitchurch presented this papyrus to the distinguished German Egyptologist Richard Lepsius. It was likely composed between the 12th and 18th dynasties. Professor Ehrman was the initial editor and translator of the texts. The inaugural story recounts an incident that transpired during the reign of Nebka, a third dynasty king, as narrated by Prince Khafre to Khufu, Cheops. His name was Ubaner, and he was the chief Kerheb of the Temple of Ptah of Memphis. He was married, but his wife yearned for a young man who worked in the fields, and she sent him a box containing fabulous clothes through one of her maids. In response to this gift, the young man suggested that they meet and talk in a booth or lodge in the magician's garden, and she instructed the steward to make the club ready for her to receive her friend. After that, she sat with the young man in the lodge and drank beer until he left. Following what had happened, the steward decided to inform his master of what had happened, and as soon as morning came, he approached Ubaner and told him that his wife had spent the previous day drinking beer with such a young man. When the steward brought Ubaner his ebony and silver gold casket containing materials and instruments used in working magic, he took out some wax and fashioned a 7-span crocodile figure. His following words to the crocodile were, "When the young man bathes in my lake, you shall seize him." After giving the crocodile to the steward, Ubaner instructed him, "Thou shalt throw the crocodile into the water after him when he goes down to the lake to bathe, as he does every day." The steward left after taking the crocodile from his master. In preparation for spending time in the garden, Ubaner's wife asked the steward to tidy up the little lodge. She visited the young peasant after the steward furnished the lodge. As he left the club, he went to the lake and bathed. Following him, the steward threw the wax crocodile into the water. The crocodile immediately turned into a large one, 7 cubits long, and swallowed the young man whole. During this period, the young man was in the lake without air to breathe, while the magician Ubaner was in attendance for 7 days. Following the 7 days, King Nebka invited the magician for a walk. Ubaner asked the king if he would be interested in seeing the wonderful thing that had happened to the young peasant, and the king agreed, and immediately followed the magician to the desired location. The crocodile appeared at the lake after Ubaner cast a spell over it, and the crocodile brought the young man up with him. Long ago, when the king was in a state of fear when he saw the crocodile, the magician backed down fearlessly and took the crocodile up in his hand, and lo, the living crocodile had disappeared, leaving only a wax crocodile. After hearing the story, King Khufu commanded the presentation of gifts to the magician Ubaner at the tomb of his predecessor, Nebka. A wax crocodile was shown to His Majesty after he told King Nebka of the young man spending days talking and drinking beer with his wife in the lodge in the garden. "Go now, and take what is thine with you." And the wax crocodile jumped out of the magician's hand into the lake, becoming a giant living crocodile. No one knows what happened after it swam away with the young man. Ubaner's wife was then beheaded by the king's servants on the north side of the royal palace, where she was burned, and her ashes were scattered in the river. Bayufa stood up and offered to tell King Khufu, Cheops, a story about a magician called Chacham-Unk, who flourished during the reign of Seneferu, the king's father. Upon accepting the offer, Bayufa commenced narrating the following story. Once, Seneferu was in a state of confusion and gloom, and he wandered distractedly through his palace, looking for something wherewith to amuse himself, but he was unable to find anything. His servants summoned the court magician Chacham-Unk to his presence after he thought of him. He addressed him as "my brother," telling him he had wandered about in his palace trying to find amusement, but had been unsuccessful. Immediately the magician proposed that the king prepare a boat, decorate it with objects that would provide pleasure, and row on the lake. The rowers row the boat. He was captivated by their motions, the beauty of the fields and gardens surrounding the lake, and the depths of the waters. "Let me arrange the matter," said the magician. The magician prepared 20 ebony paddles inlaid with gold and silver, and dressed 20 pretty maidens with flowing hair in network garments. Once all these things had been prepared, and the maidens who would row had taken their places, the king entered the boat and sat in his small pavilion as he engaged in battle on the lake. Perspective was accurate, as the king thoroughly enjoyed observing the maidens rowing. When one of the maidens attempted to remove the paddle handle from her long hair, a malachite ornament she was wearing fell into the water and vanished. Dens tried to free the paddle handle from her lengthy hair, but a malachite ornament she was wearing in her hair fell into the water and disappeared. Having lost so much, the maiden stopped rowing, and since her stopping threw the strokes of the girls sitting on her seat out of order, they stopped arguing. Afterward, the king asked why the rowing had stopped, and one of the maidens explained what had happened. When he promised to recover the ornament, the maiden said words that indicated she was confident it would be healed. Seneferu summoned Chacham-Unk into his presence, and upon his arrival the king explained all that had transpired. The magician recited various spells that caused the water on one side of the lake to rise up and put itself on the water on the opposite side of the lake. In the center of the lake, where the decoration fell, the water was 12 cubits, between 18 and 19 feet. When one side piled up on the other, both sections were 24 cubits deep. As soon as the maiden's ornament was restored, the magician recited further spells, and the water lowered itself and spread over the ground, regaining its average level. Clearly, the boat gently sank to the lake's bottom, allowing the magician to retrieve the malachite ornament and return it to its owner. After discussing the matter with his nobles, Seneferu gave his clever magician a handsome gift. After hearing the story, King Khufu commanded the delivery of bread, beer, flesh, incense, and funerary offerings to the tombs of Seneferu and Chacham-Unk. A sage man, Prince Herutataf, the son of King Khufu, whose name is associated with Egyptian tradition in the discovery of specific chapters of the Book of the Dead, stood up before his father and began to speak. "Well, if these tales are true, My Majesty, I would like to show you a certain sage who lived during my lifetime but whom you are unaware of." A sage man, Prin, said, "My Majesty, I would like to show you a certain sage who lived during my lifetime but whom you are unaware of, to tell if these tales were true." His Majesty Khufu asked, "Herutataf, who is he?" Prince Herutataf responded, "He is a certain peasant who lives in Tet Seneferu named Teta." Even though he is 110 years old, he still eats 500 bread cakes, is sick, a leg of beef and 100 pots of beer daily. He knows how to reunite a head to its body, which has been cut off, how to make a lion follow him when his rope drags behind him on the ground, and he knows the number of the Apet chambers of Thoth's shrine. For a long time in the past, His Majesty had sought out the number of the Apet chambers of Thoth, since he had wished to create something resembling it for his horizon. My son, you shall bring the sage to me. Thereupon, a boat was prepared for Prince Herutataf, who set out for Tet Seneferu, the home of the sage, immediately. When the prince reached the riverbank nearest the village of Teta, he tied the boat up. Continuing on overland, he sat in an ebony sedan chair to complete the journey. On bearing poles made of expensive Sesencum wood inlaid or decorated with gold, the equipment was carried or slung. Upon arrival at the village, Herutataf got out of the chair and walked up to greet the older man lying on a bed, with the door to his house on the ground. In addition to fanning the sage's head, one servant rubbed his feet, while another held his head. The gist of Herutataf's speech to Teta was that the older man seemed able to defy the effects of old age, as if he had discovered the secret of everlasting youth, and expressed hope for his well-being. Herutataf then explained that he was summoning Teta to his presence in dignified and archaic language after paying his father Khufu's compliments. He replied, "I've come a long way to invite you so you can eat the food and enjoy the good things the king bestows on his followers, as well as be transported after a happy life to the graves of your fathers." As the sage replied, Prince Herutataf said, "Welcome, Prince Herutataf. Your father will reward you with gifts and promote you to the top ranks of his court. You will fight successfully. When you go up against your enemy, you shall reach the door of those attired in Prince Herutataf, I salute you." Having helped the sage get up from the bed, Herutataf walked with him to the riverbank, Teta leaning on his arm. When they arrived there, Teta requested a boat for his children and his books, and the prince provided 2 ships, complete with crews. Teta himself was accommodated in the prince's boat. Prince Herutataf announced their arrival to the king at the palace. He said, "O king, my lord, I have brought Teta." His Majesty replied, "Bring him in right away." When Teta arrived, the king led him into the large hall of his palace. He asked Teta, "How can I have never seen you?" Teta replied, "Only those summoned by the king come to the presence." The king asked him, "Is it true, as is asserted, that you know how to rejoin the head that has been cut off from the body?" Teta responded, "I know how to do this, my lord." His Majesty said, "Let them bring a prisoner from the prison so that he may be executed." Teta replied, "It may be ordered that the head should be cut off from another living creature, king, my lord." A goose stood on its legs and cackled when its body and head came close together. As Teta recited certain magical spells, the goose stood up, waddled towards its head, and its head moved towards its body. Consequently, the head of a goose was cut off for him. The body was laid bare on the west side of the hall, and its head on the east side. As with the other goose, Teta treated a goose of another species called Keta the same way. Upon cutting off an ox's head and reciting magical spells over its head and body, His Majesty caused the ox to stand up on its feet after the head rejoined itself to the body. Next, Teta brought a lion to him, and after he recited spells over it, he was followed by the beast, like a dog, leaving behind the rope with which he had been tied. In reply to King Khufu, Teta replied, "No, I'm not sure what they say about you knowing the number of the Apet chambers at the shrine of Thoth." His Majesty asked, "Where is that?" Teta responded, "I don't know their number, O king, my lord, but I do know where they are. In a house named Sapti in Heliopolis, there is a box made of flint." The king asked, "Who will bring this box to me?" Teta replied, "I will not bring this box to you, O king, my lord." His Majesty asked, "Who will then bring it to me?" "The oldest of Rut-Tete's 3 children shall bring it to you," Teta replied. "I would like to know who Rut-Tetet is," he said. "This Rut-Test is the wife of a priest of Ra of Sakabu, who is about to give birth to 3 children of Ra." The king's heart broke upon hearing the news. He told her that the eldest child of these children would become high priest of Heliopolis. Teta asked, "Why are you sad, O king, my lord? Are you upset because of the 3 children?" Teta inquired, "Why are you sad, O king, my lord? Are you upset because of the 3 children?" His Majesty asked, "When will these 3 children be born?" Teta responded, "Rut will give birth on the 15th day of the 1st month of Pert." The king then remarked, the exact meaning of which is challenging to follow, but one part indicates he expressed his determination to visit the temple of Ra of Sakabu, which appears to have been located on or near the Grand Canal of the Letopolite Nome. Teta replied that he said that he would ensure the canal water was 4 cubits deep, i.e., deep enough for the barge to sail without difficulty. The king went to his palace and gave orders that Teta be delivered lodgings in the house of Prince Harutataf, that he should live with him, and that he should receive 1,000 bread cakes, 100 pots of beer, 1 ox, and 100 bundles of vegetables as compensation. Consequently, the king carried out all his commands regarding Teta. In the last section of the Westcar Papyrus, we learn about the birth of Ra's 3 sons. Ra, the sun god, grew impatient as the birthday of his 3 sons approached and instructed the 4 goddesses, Isis, Nephthys, Meskenet, Heket, and the god Khnemu, to supervise the birth. As they grew and began exercising the powers of rule throughout Egypt, they built temples for them and adorned the altars with plenty of meat and drink. When the 4 goddesses transformed into dancing women, they went to the house where Rut-Tetet lay ill. Finding her husband, the priest of Ra, known as Rouser, they clashed their cymbals together, rattled their sistra, and tried to make him laugh. After Rouser informed them that Rut-Test was ill inside the house, they said, "Let us see her since we know how to help her." So, he said to them and Khnemu, who was with them, "Enter in," and they entered the room. Isis, Nephthys, and Heket brought the 3 boys into the world. Khnemu bestowed health upon each of them, and Meskenet prophesied for their sovereignty over the land. The 4 goddesses and Khnemu urged Rouser to rejoice when they blessed him with 3 boys. Rouser asked, "My ladies, what can I do for you in return for this?" He apparently had nothing else to give, so he asked for barley from his granary to be brought to their own granaries as a gift. They agreed, and Khnemu brought it to them. As a result, the goddesses set out for their home. According to some sources, Rut-Tetet's 3 sons became Khafra, Menkaura, and Uzurkaf, the 3 kings of the 5th dynasty. The stories above are valuable because they contain elements of history, as it is now widely known that the immediate successors of the 4th dynasty, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, were the builders of the 3 massive pyramids at Giza and were the most important. These kings were proud of calling themselves sons of Ra and spared no effort to make the worship of the sun god practiced at Anu or Heliopolis universal throughout Egypt. These 3 magicians, Ubaener, Chachamanc, and Teta, are likely historical figures whose abilities and skills captivated the imaginations of the Egyptians under all dynasties and caused their names to be venerated throughout history. Book of the Dead is a translation of the title Totenbuch, which Dr. R. Lepsius gave to his edition of Papyrus in Turin, which contained a very long selection of the chapters published in 1842. As of now, in Book of the Dead, several types of chapters or compositions have been carved into the walls of Egyptian pyramids and rock-cut tombs, both short and long, as well as the walls of coffins and sarcophagi and papyri, etc., which were buried with the dead in their graves. A leading modern scholar, J. François Champollion, examined these chapters for the first time. He concluded correctly that the whole collection was religious, but he was wrong in calling it a funerary ritual. The Book of the Dead fits these chapters because they're mostly about and created for the dead. They have nothing to do with earthlings worshipping the gods, and the dead were supposed to repeat such prayers and hymns for their own benefit. Chapter 1 of this book describes the greatness of the god Thoth, the author of the Book of the Dead chapters. Throughout their long history, the Egyptians held them in the highest regard because they were of divine origin. Some of them refer to the dismemberment and burning of the dead, practices which, though common in very primitive times, were abandoned as soon as royal dynasties were established in Egypt. Most chapters may have existed in some form during the pre-dynastic period, but no copies of such primitive versions have survived. Semti, a king of the first dynasty, reigned during this time. Chapters 38 and 64 were discovered, according to a tradition dating back to the early 18th dynasty, 1600 BC. Menkaure, known as the Mycerinus of classical writers, credited the discovery. Undoubtedly, Egyptian kings and royals used a Book of the Dead during the first dynasty until Christianity arrived in Egypt in a more or less complete form. The construction of tombs for Third and Fourth Dynasty officials clearly utilized the Book of Opening the Mouth and the Liturgy of Funerary Offerings. It follows that the Egyptians believed in the resurrection and immortality of the dead during this period. It was generally accepted that Osiris was the god of the dead, that funerary offerings were efficacious, and that men died believing that the righteous would be rewarded in heaven and the evildoers punished. Moreover, the pyramid texts demonstrate that a Book of the Dead divided into chapters existed at the time they were written, as they mention. The chapter of those who appear in heaven, i.e., those who come forth. This also applies to the chapter of risen people, Pepi I, line 463. Incense of Betu and its chapters. Likewise, Pepi I, 469, contains a chapter on natron incense. Whether these chapters formed part of the pyramid texts or formed part of the Book of the Dead cannot be determined with certainty, but the 4 chapters mentioned above were part of an older Book of the Dead than the pyramid texts. No doubt this Book of the Dead was based on the beliefs of followers of the religion of Osiris, which originated in the Delta and spread southward into Upper Egypt. There are many significant differences between its doctrines and those of the sun god worshippers of Heliopolis, whose priests preached the existence of solar heaven and taught their followers to believe in the sun god Ra instead of Temu Heliopolis's ancient native god, or Osiris, the divine man. Heliopolitan creed is elucidated in the pyramid texts, which also contain proof that the cult of Osiris triumphed over the cult of Ra before the close of the 6th dynasty. The recension, used from the 18th to the 21st dynasty, 1600 to 900 BC, is commonly known as the Theban recension, since most of these rolls were found in the tombs of priests and others at Thebes. Chapters 65 and 64 of the Book of the Dead were written in Thoth, Kamenu, Anu, Heliopolis, Busiris, and other delta towns. In the 5th and 6th dynasties, the Book of the Dead did not exist in copies, but many chapters of the recension were written on wooden sarcophagi under the 11th and 12th dynasties in cursive hieroglyphs, some of which can be found in the British Museum. It was customary to write the Book of the Dead on rolls of papyrus, which were placed with the dead in their coffins instead of on the coffins themselves at the beginning of the 18th dynasty. It is usually written in black ink, separated by black lines, in vertical columns of hieroglyphs, each chapter's titles, the opening words of each section, and the rubrics are written in red. During the 18th dynasty, brightly colored pictures, vignettes, were added to the chapters. These are very valuable since they sometimes explain or give a clue to obscure text parts. During the 20th and 21st dynasties, hieroglyphic copies of the Book of the Dead went out of fashion, and hieratic, cursive versions replaced them. Despite the scribes who made them write certain sections in hieroglyphs, it was evident that they lacked the skill of the great writers who flourished between 1600 and 1050 BC. Saiti recension was the last recension to exist in a complete form, lasting from 600 BC to the Roman period. In the Ptolemaic and Roman periods, priests composed several minor works, such as the Book of Breathings and the Book of Traversing Eternity, based on the Book of the Dead, and contained in a highly condensed form all the texts that were essential for salvation. Later, even more abbreviated texts emerged, and the Book of the Dead ended up as an almost illegible scroll on scraps of papyrus a few inches square. They arranged the Book of the Dead on papyrus rolls as follows. The mummy chamber occupied a niche. Lie next to the deceased's coffin, between the thighs or just above the ankles of the dead. Hollow wooden figures depicted the god Osiris, Ta, Seker Osiris. In addition to, such figures were placed on hollow pedestals. Egypt believed the dead had to pass through a vast, rugged region called Tuat to reach the afterlife, which was inhabited by gods, devils, fiends, demons, good spirits, evil spirits, and the souls of the wicked, not to mention snakes, serpents, and savage animals, before they could reach the Elysian fields and appear before Osiris. The Tuat was like the African bush, with no roads through it. In ancient Egypt, spells, incantations, prayers, charms, words of power, and amulets were required for souls to reach the kingdom of Osiris. Magic and spells were used to bewitch evil beings of every kind. Prayers, joys, and words of energy were used to make another being possessed of immense powers, able to help the soul on its journey, to deliver it from enemies. And amulets gave the soul who used their strength, power, will, and knowledge to employ successfully every means of assistance that presented itself. The Book of the Dead, the purpose of the dead, was to supply the deceased with spells, prayers, amulets, and other items. To overcome the challenges and obstacles of the Tuat, he must travel to Sekhet Aru and Sekhet Hetep. He must establish his place among the subjects of Osiris in the land of everlasting life by crossing Sekhet Aru and Sekhet Hetep. Although Egyptian beliefs about vital issues changed considerably as time progressed, they never attempted to update the Book of the Dead chapters. The religious character of the 18th dynasty was far more spiritual than that of the 12th, but the chapters used under the 12th dynasty were also operated under the 18th and even under the 26th. He was happy to enter the next world, trusting in the texts that had ensured the salvation of his ancestors. Thus, the Book of the Dead reflects all the Egyptians' beliefs from their early days as half-savages until their final downfall. Approximately 190 chapters comprise the Theban recension of the Book of the Dead. Some of them have rubrics describing the effects of their recital and the ceremonies to be performed while reciting. While it is impossible in our limited space, we cannot fully describe the contents of every chapter, but we have enumerated the most significant ones. We describe the events that transpired during the funeral. We also describe the arrangement of the mummy chamber and the texts intended for repetition there. Certain magical ceremonies were performed in the mummy chamber, and objects of magical power were exhibited in niches throughout the room. The deceased made declarations of innocence before the 42 judges. I described the halls, pylons, and divisions of the kingdom of Osiris, the gods who guard them, and the formulas that the deceased is to recite. We find a text describing all the towns and places. It contains hymns from Hymn 1, which features hymns of the rising and setting sun and a litany of Osiris. It is hailed. Others allowed the man to move freely in the other world, secure his free passage into and out of the tomb, and defeat his enemies. It discusses the origins of God, the heavens, and the earth. It also describes the different opinions that Egyptian theologians held about many divine and mythological beings. Despite its unclear inclusion in the Book of the Dead, its significance remains undeniable. It restored his mouth to the deceased and helped him open it. It has provided him with words of power and given back his memory. It has given the dead his heart and provided the spells that prevented the soul thieves from stealing or harming it. We used amulets shaped like human hearts. There are spells for warding off crocodiles, snakes, and serpents. It has rescued a man from slaughter in the other world. It has prevented his decapitation and prevented his second death. It has protected the body from rot or decay in the tomb. A group of 50 saved the deceased from the headsman of the Tuat. A group also prevented him from stumbling. There was no boiling water in the Tuat. He could leave the tomb, overthrow enemies, and come forth by day. A man could transform himself into the light god, the primeval soul of God, golden hawks, divine hawks, lotuses, birds, herons, swallows, serpents, crocodiles, and anything else he could conceive of. The deceased soul could rejoin its body at will. Thoth removed his soul and spirit from the tomb. Thoth made the deceased an associate of himself. He secured the services of the celestial ferryman. The Tuat brought him across the river to the island of fire, where Osiris lived, which provided him with access to the boat of Ra. His knowledge of the souls, i.e., gods of the east and west, and of the towns of Pi, Kien, Khemenu, and Anu, was enhanced as he found his way through Rastau, part of the kingdom of Seka, the god of death, which made it possible for him to build a house and enabled him to return to earth and see it. He provided for his escape from the fiend, whose mission was to catch souls in a net. The amulets contain the spells. Namely, it was the Tet, male, the Tet, female, the vulture, the collar, the scepter, the pillow, the pectoral, etc., that gave the deceased the power of Osiris and Isis, restored his health, lifted his head, and kept the heat in the body until the resurrection day. As a result of his actions, he attained everlasting life and escaped death a second time. He raised up the dead body. He perfected the spirit soul and bestowed upon it celestial powers. This enabled it to engage with the gods equally and participate in all their activities and delights. The mighty god of Abydos, Osiris-Un-Nefer, deserves our praise. The King of eternity, the Lord of everlastingness, has existed for millions of years. He was born from Nut's womb, the son of Keb, the Urpat. Having received the scepter and the whip, he has been crowned Lord of the southern and northern crowns, and holds the rank of his divine fathers. Let your heart be content in you, son Horus, who has established himself on your throne in Semt Ament and is Lord of Tatu. Through thee the world flourishes in triumph before the power of Nebuchadnezzar. He leads over what is and is yet to be in his name of Taher-Stanef. He rules over the earth in his character of Seker. He is mighty and righteous in his representation of Osiris, and he endures forever and ever in his title of Un-Nefer. I pay tribute to you, King of kings, Lord of lords, and Prince of princes, who have ruled the world and Akert since the womb of Nut. The brilliance of turquoise encircles you, and your body is like bright metal. Ani, whose body permeates all things and whose face is beautiful in Tachesert, grants glory in heaven, power on earth, and triumph in the other world to the Ka of the Osiris, the scribe. I pray that I can sail from Tatu to Abydos as the Bennu bird as a living soul. The lords of the other world won't stop me at their pylons so that I can go in and out without being stopped. Let bread cakes be given to me in the house of coolness, and food offerings in Anu, Heliopolis, wheat and barley for a homestead in Seket Aru, forever. This is from another hymn to Osiris found in the papyrus of Hunefer. The gods come to thee, bowing low before thee, and they are frightened. When they see you endowed with Ra's terror, they withdraw and depart. The victory of your majesty is over their hearts. No life is without meat and drink, and what is thy due is presented before thy face. I come to thee with truth and no cunning or deceit in my heart. I will offer it as you are due and let you know where you live. I have not committed any sins in this land, nor deprived anyone of their rightful possessions. My hands are pure, and I am Thoth, the perfect scribe. In the Papyrus of Ani, chapter 15 begins with an address, followed by a litany, which describes Ani as the Lord of purity, the destroyer of evil, and the scribe of truth. O Osiris, in whose form are many, whose attributes are majesty, Ta Sekertem in Heliopolis, ruler of the Shita shrine, creator of Memphis and all of its gods, thou guide of the other world, who the gods praise when thou risest in the sky. Isis embraces thee contentedly. She drives the fiends away from the mouth of your paths. Turning your face toward Amentet, you made the earth shine like refined copper. As thy disk rises on the horizon, the dead stare at you, breathe the air and see your face. In the presence of thee, O eternity and everlastingness, their hearts are resting. The Litany. Homage to thee, God Unti, who is regarded as the most glorious of the gods hidden in Heliopolis, O Dacons of Heliopolis, and heavenly beings of Keraha. Grant me a path where I can walk in peace, for I am just and true. I have not intentionally spoken lies or acted deceitfully. The great Heruhuti strides over the heavens with long strides. O An in Antes, Heruhuti. Homage to thee, O everlasting soul who dwells in Tatu, Busiris. An-Nefer, son of Nut, the lord of Akkert. The Urt crown is fixed upon your head during your rule over Tatu. Tatu dwells in peace because of thy protection. You are one. I pay tribute to thee, Lord of the Acacia. The seeker boat is on its sled. Thou hast turned back the fiend, the instigator of evil. Thou hast set the sun, God's eye, upon its throne. Salute to thee, great and mighty prince, dweller in Anrutef, Lord of eternity, creator of everlastingness. Thou art the Lord of Hensu. Homage to you, O thou who rests upon truth. Thou art the one who is abhorred by fraud and deceit. Your body is united to Ta-Chezert, the Lord of Abydos. O dweller in thy boat, I pay tribute to you. O you, your body is ablaze with light as you lead the Nile from its source. You live in Nekhen, in thy gracious seasons. O King of the South, O King of the North, Osiris, conqueror, governor of the world, thou art the Lord of the heavens of Egypt, Atebui. An instance of a funerary hymn extolling Ra is presented in the subsequent excerpt. Homage to you, Khepera, the creator of gods, you who manifest as Khepera. You ascend and radiate, illuminating your mother, the sky. You are crowned king of the gods. Mother Nut bows in your presence. The goddess Mat embraces you in the land of sunset, Manu, at dawn and dusk. Salutations to you, gods of the temple of the soul, heaven, who harmonize heaven and earth and provide celestial sustenance. Hail Tatunen, the One, creator of humanity, creator of the gods of the north, south, west, and east. Praise Ra, the Prince of Heaven. May life, health, and strength be bestowed upon him. He is the creator of the gods, and we venerate him as he rises in the morning boat, Inchit. Some inhabit the heights, while others revere you in the earth's depths. Thoth and Mat have established your daily path for eternity. You have consigned your adversary, the serpent, to the flames. The fiend has fallen into it. A chain has bound his arms, and Ra has amputated his legs. The Mesu Betchet shall never ascend again. Festivals are observed at Anu's temple of the aged god, and the sounds of celebration resonate in the great house. The deities exult when Ra ascends, illuminating the world with his rays. The majesty of God extends even to the land of sunset, Manu. He illuminates the earth with each new day and travels to the location of his previous existence. Achieve tranquility with me, and I shall behold your beauty. Permit my manifestation on earth. Strike the ass-eater, defeat the serpent Seba. Allow me to vanquish Apep at the height of his power. Allow me to observe Abtu fish during its season and antfish in its habitat. Let me observe Horus navigating your vessel, flanked by Thoth and Mat on either side. Kindly permit me to grasp the bows of your evening vessel and the stern of your morning vessel. K of me, Osiris, the scribe Ani, observe the solar disk and witness the moon god, consistently and daily. Permit my spirit to wander unrestrained. Let my name be inscribed among those designated to receive offerings, and may offerings be presented to me, akin to those presented to the followers of Horus. On the day of the divine's departure, arrange a seat for me in the vessel of Ra. Osiris receives my soul into the realm of truth. The Book of the Dead typically requests sepulchral offerings at the graves of petitioners, enabling the priest's incantations to transform the spirits of the offerings into sustenance for the deceased. Alongside prayers for the deceased's solace and welfare, many also encompass petitions for the absolution of corporeal transgressions. Chapter 1. 126 contains a blessing that exemplifies this perfectly. Hail ye 4 ape gods who occupy the bows of the boat of Ra, who speak truth to Nebuchadnezzar, who sit in judgment upon my weakness and on my strength, who make the gods to rest contented using the flame of your mouth. Sepulchral meals are offered to the spirit, souls by those who offer sacred offerings to the gods. Do away with my evil deeds and put away my sin, which deserves stripes upon earth, and destroy every evil thing that is attached to me. Let there be no barrier whatsoever between us. Please permit me to pass through the Amhet chamber, enter the Rastau, and pass through the secret places of Amentet. Give me cakes, beer, and sweetmeats, as the spirit souls do. Let me enter in and leave Rastau. Come, for we have removed thy wickedness, and we have removed thy sin, which deserved stripes, which you perpetrated on earth, and we have destroyed all the evil that clung to thee. Therefore, enter Rastau and pass through the secret gates of Amentet, and cakes, ale, and sweetmeats will be provided for you, and you will be able to go in and out as you choose, as do those whose spirit souls are praised by the god. And your name will be proclaimed each day in the horizon. Anubis and Thoth weigh the deceased's heart on the great scales in the presence of the great company of the gods and Osiris as he stands in the hall of judgment. In his words, my heart, my mother, my heart is the source from which I was born. Let none oppose me at my judgment. May the opposition not alienate me from the keeper of the balance. I revere you as my Ka, the deity Khnemu, who fortifies and sustains my limbs. May you discover joy in your travels. Please do not tarnish my name before Osiris due to the Shanit officials who determine the fates of men. The weighing may favor us, and we may exult in the judgment of words. Let no one utter falsehoods against me before the great God, the Lord of Amentet. You will excel as a proponent of truth when you ascend. Numerous papyri feature a rubric instructing that the prayer be recited over a dark green scarab affixed to a band of chamu metal, i.e., silver gold, suspended from the deceased's neck by a ring. In certain rubrics, it is prescribed to be positioned in the breast of a mummy, substituting for the heart, while the mouth of the deceased will be opened. During the reign of Menkaure, A monarch of the 4th dynasty, Herutataf, the progeny of Khufu, unearthed the chapter in Khemenu, Hermopolis Magna. The Egyptians inscribed hieroglyphs on an alabaster block inlaid with lapis lazuli and positioned it beneath Thoth's feet, forming a potent prayer. The Egyptians recited this prayer throughout the Ptolemaic period, ensuring its continued usage for nearly 4 millennia. It is likely the oldest prayer in existence. The Middle and New Empires inscribed variations of this prayer onto durable green stone scarabs, which frequently exhibit incompleteness and inaccuracies. They evidently converted the prayer into an incantation and employed it exclusively as a word of power. The resilient stone scarabs were regarded as amulets. Several contained blank spaces designated for the names of individuals intended for burial alongside them, suggesting that they were previously included in an undertaker's stock for last-minute purchasers of heart scarabs. This excerpt exemplifies the elevated moral ideals of the Egyptians during the 18th dynasty in the initial section. Osiris and his 42 judges adjudicated the souls of the deceased in the Usekt Mati, one for Upper Egypt and another for Lower Egypt. A man sentenced to consume red water in various regions of Africa currently makes a proclamation before the verdict is rendered. In this declaration, he asserts that he has not transgressed any moral or religious laws of his nation. In his words, "I have approached you, O great God, Lord of Mati, to witness your magnificence and to observe the 42 deities who reside with you in this hall of truth, safeguarding the guilty and subsisting on the blood of their victims on the day when human lives are evaluated before Un-Nefer, Osiris, the benevolent being. I have approached you and presented the truth. I have taken pleasure in eradicating malevolence on your behalf. I have committed no wrongdoing against others. My family has not experienced any oppression or wrongdoing. I have chosen to act incorrectly rather than appropriately. Men of no value have never been my companions. I have committed no wrongdoing. My words were not intended to appear excessively virtuous. I have not submitted applications for elevated positions. I have made no malevolent request. I have not misled the distressed individual. To the deities, I have committed no acts of hatred or transgression. No servant has suffered mistreatment from his master due to my actions. Under my supervision, no individual shall experience hunger. I have not wept. I have not committed murder. I have not instructed anyone to perpetrate murder. I have caused no pain. I have not pilfered temple offerings. I have not pilfered the deities' confections. I did not appropriate any cakes from the spirits. I have not engaged in any acts of fornication. I have not preserved any acts of desecration in the sacred sites of my town. No decrease in the bushel has occurred. I have neither added to nor removed any land from my ownership, encroached upon adjacent fields, nor augmented scale weights. The scale's pointer has not been falsified. I have not deprived any children of milk. I have not removed the cattle from their pastures. I have not captured any feathered birds in the gods' preserves. I have been unable to capture fish of their species using bait derived from their own kind. I have not impeded the flow of water. I have violated no waterway. When a fire was expected to ignite, I extinguished it. I have not transgressed the designated times for meat offerings. I have not removed the cattle from God's property. I have not rejected God in his manifestations. My purity is indisputable. My inherent disposition is one of purity. In the later chapters of the Book of Thoth, Thoth reiterates numerous prior assertions of innocence. Each order, however, contains the name of one of the 42 judges. Firstly, you have progressed significantly from Heliopolis. I have not transgressed. The second, I have not seized you through force. Flames envelop you. The third, nose, originates from Hermopolis, and I have not caused harm to any individual. The fourth, I have not thieved from you, eater of shadows who emerges from Kirti. The fifth, My name is Stinking Face. I hail from Rastau and have not taken the life of any individuals or creatures. The 6th. Truly I have not deceived you, Crusher of Bones, who emerges from Hensu. The names of these 42 deities signify a nome, each embodying a local god or spirit, whose names were incorporated into the declarations to ensure the 42 judges represented all of Egypt. In contrast to the first and second parts, the third part of the chapter encompasses significantly more personal religious concepts articulated by the deceased. The virtuous and unblemished heart proclaims its innocence regarding the 42 transgressions or offenses. In the presence of Nebuchadnezzar, proclaim my innocence. For I have acted justly in Tamara, Egypt, neither blaspheming God nor attributing malevolence to the king. I pay my respects to you, O deities residing in the hall of Maati. I am aware of your names. May I avoid injury from your blades and avoid presenting your malevolence to the deity you worship. The deities reside in the hall of Maati, embodying truth and sustaining themselves with truth before Horus, the inhabitant of his disk. On the day of the great judgment, liberate me from Baba, who supplies the innards of the mighty. I possess no transgressions against you. I have committed no wrongdoing. I have not provided false testimony. Thus, I should not endure any harm. The truth is what sustains me. My sustenance embodies my reality. I am compelled to follow men's directives and act to please the deities. By fulfilling his will, I have attained reconciliation with God. The famished individual has obtained bread. The parched individual has acquired water. The unclothed individual has been provided with garments, and the man lacking a ferry has received a ferry. I have provided funerary offerings to the spirits and deities. Therefore, serve as my guardians and saviors. Refrain from levying any charges against me before the supreme deity. Consequently, let those who observe me declare, enter in peace, enter in harmony, i.e., welcome, welcome. Herfaf has sanctioned my testimony. Persea trees extend their branches over numerous objects in Rastau. I am acquainted with the gods, and I pray to them. Once I have proclaimed the truth, the balance will remain in Okert. The deceased addressed the deity Osiris. Hail, Lord of the Atef crown, known as the Lord of the Winds. Safeguard me from your malevolent envoys, whose faces are exposed, for I have acted justly for Osiris. Sacred water has sanctified my foreparts. Purifying elements have cleansed my posterior, while the lake of truth has purified my innermost being. I possess no family member devoid of truth. As I immersed myself in the South Pool, I achieved purification. The sailors of Ra cleanse themselves in the field of the grasshoppers during the 2nd and 3rd hours of the night in the northern town. One might assume that the deceased's moral merit would enable him to enter directly into the most sacred section of the Hall of Truth, where Osiris was seated. It may be presumed that the moral value of the deceased would permit him to enter directly into the most sacred section of the Hall of Truth, where Osiris is seated in judgment. However, this is inaccurate, as he was required to recite the mystical names of different sections of the Hall of Truth before proceeding. Consequently, the priest infused his magic into the most hallowed texts. The deceased stated that he arrived at the Hall of Truth to be acknowledged by God after Thoth, the esteemed recorder of Egypt, had been content with the deceased's integrity and sincerity. Subsequently, Thoth inquired, "Who is he whose celestial realm is fire, whose barriers are serpents, and whose foundation is water?" The deceased responded, "Osiris." Osiris then beckoned him forward and made the introduction. A reward for his virtuous existence was divine sustenance from the Eye of Ra, which allowed him to become a counterpart of God. The primary themes of the Book of the Dead are the preservation of a mummy and the concept of eternal life. Below are excerpts from chapters 154 and 175. Tribute to you, my celestial father Osiris. You did not deteriorate. You did not transform into worms. You did not deteriorate. You did not experience corruption. You did not decompose. You did not consume food. The deity Khepera shall possess eternal life. My fate is to exist. I embody my fate to exist. I will experience prosperity. I anticipate a tranquil morning. I will not engage in any putrefaction. The internal organs of my body shall not decay. No harm will come to me. I will not permit my vision to deteriorate. I will not compromise the shape of my face. I will not permit my hearing to deteriorate. My head and neck shall remain united. I shall not relinquish my speech. The hair on my head shall not be shaved. I will not remove my eyebrows. I will not endure a detrimental injury. My body shall neither deteriorate nor be obliterated in this life. Chapter 175 depicts the journey of eternal life, wherein the scribe Ani converses with Thoth and Temu in the Tuat, or other world. Ani inquires, "What is this land to which I have arrived? It lacks water. Air is absent. It is an incomprehensible abyss as dark as the deepest night, and men traverse aimlessly within it. There is no tranquility of spirit and no fulfillment of love therein." Following a brief address to Osiris, the deceased poses a question to God. "For how long shall I endure? According to God, you shall lead a life spanning millions of years." Chapter 1 156 includes a specimen amulet incantation. The Tet amulet symbolized a segment of Isis's anatomy. The incantation declares, "The blood of Isis, the power of Isis, and the words of power of Isis shall safeguard this formidable one, i.e. the mummy, and shield him from anyone who would perpetrate actions he detests." The rubric delineates the spell's intent. The incantation must be recited over a carnelian tet, immersed in Arkham flower water, encased in sycamore, and positioned on the deceased's neck on the funeral day. Upon sighting him, the son of Isis will exult. During his journey, he cannot evade him. He must consistently and continuously raise one hand toward the heavens and the other toward the earth. No one should witness a few words dissipate. The following are instances of spells to incapacitate crocodiles, serpents, and other reptiles in the Book of the Dead. "You cannot approach me, accursed crocodile Sui, for I possess life through the potent words within me. If I utter your name to the great God, he will summon you before Beti and her Kemat. The heavens dictate their seasons, the spell directs its course, and my mouth regulates all. When I bite, my teeth resemble flint knives, and when I grind, they evoke the fangs of the wolf god. It is prohibited for you to appropriate my spell, your crocodile subsisting on fragments, who remain entranced with your gaze fixed upon my era. Consuming the brow or skull of Osiris is considered taboo for me. I am prepared. The West crocodile must be reintroduced to its native environment. Within me resides a serpent. O crocodile of the West, I will direct it towards you. The flame shall not be near me. Retreat, you crocodile of the East, who subsists on the detritus of the unclean. I am Osiris, I progress. The serpent now resides within me, crocodile of the East. I have placed it upon you. Your fire shall not come near me. I am in September. You are the South's crocodile, subsisting on refuse, debris, and detritus. My allure resides in the reeds. Therefore, I shall not acquiesce to you. Retreat, southern crocodile. The emission shall not befall me, you northern crocodile. I am Tem. Soar above, you northern crocodile. I am Uachmerti, the northern crocodile. An unborn scorpion goddess dwells within me. I have fashioned certain items in the palm of my hand, yet they remain uncreated within me. The O-Ra spells envelop and sustain me from above and below. I am Ra, the self-defended. No malevolence in the world shall conquer me. The preceding chapter indicates that only affluent individuals could afford to enter copies of the extensive Book of the Dead with their deceased relatives. The cost for a skilled scribe to replicate the chapters, whether inscribed on coffins or papyrus, was likely considerable. By the end of the 26th dynasty, Egyptians began to entomb their dead with abbreviated versions of the most vital sections of the Book of the Dead, believing that only specific details were requisite for resurrection and salvation. Subsequently, scribes produced texts that included only those deemed essential for revival, eliminating all magical elements from the Book of the Dead and retaining solely the texts and formulas associated with Osiris. Numerous copies of the Shai and Sensen, or Book of Breathings, are preserved in funerary papyri. The following excerpts, translated from a papyrus in the British Museum, elucidate its nature. Revered by Osiris Kershur, the progeny of Tashenatit. Your anterior is unblemished, your posterior is purified, and your interior has been cleansed with incense and natron. You are impeccable. Kershur has been immersed in the field of offerings waters, north of the field of the grasshoppers. At night in the 8th hour of the day, the goddesses Uatchit and Nekabet cleanse you. You are liberated from all transgressions and imperfections, and are referred to as the Stone of Truth. The Tuat, otherworld, anticipates your arrival as an untainted being. In the Great Hall, you are sanctified by the goddesses of truth. The entrance of Keb, i.e. the earth, has anointed you with holy water. The Hall of Shu has rendered your body immaculate. As Ra assumes Tem's guise at dusk, he becomes visible. Similarly, Amen provides the air, while Ta, who sculpted your limbs, permits you to traverse the horizon with Ra. The Neshem boat of Osiris accepts your soul, and the house of Keb sanctifies it, ensuring your eternal triumph. Osiris Kershur, your name thrives, your corporeal form is grounded, your spiritual essence flourishes, and you are not rejected in heaven or earth. Your visage radiates before Ra, your spirit exists before Amen, and your corporeal form is rejuvenated before Osiris. You consume sustenance and receive provisions alongside the deity's souls. Anubis safeguards you, he is your guardian, and the gates of the Tuat remain open to you. Thoth, the lord of Kemenu, Hermopolis, approaches you and inscribes the Book of Breathings with his fingers. The deity's souls render you divine, Ra's essence resides within you. Amen is close to you to grant you resurrection. Upuat has paved the path to abundance for you. You perceive with your eyes, hear with your ears, articulate with your mouth, and traverse with your legs. Through the Tuat, your soul has attained divinity and can transform. The fragrances of Anu, An or Heliopolis, acacia can be inhaled. Each dawn, you awaken to witness Ra's light. You receive daily protection on earth through inhaling Aten's rays, as articulated in Thoth's Book of Breathings. The goddess of truth advocates for you before Osiris. Her inscriptions are upon your tongue. Your spirit is invigorated by Ra. The essence of Shu resides in your nostrils. Osiris Kenti Amenti is your designation, and you are akin to Osiris. In Tatu, Busiris, your corporeal form exists, while your spirit resides in the heavens. In Amentet, your scent is that of the sacred deities, and in the celestial realm your name is exalted. Through the Book of Breathings, your spirit endures. Through the Book of Breathings, your spirit is united with your body. Kershur concludes these delicate passages with divine praises, a supplication for offerings, and an excerpt from the so-called negative confession. Kershur's actions have pleased the deities, provided sustenance for the hungry, offered hydration to the parched, and clothed the destitute upon completing his endeavors. A papyrus in Vienna, titled The Book of Traversing Eternity, represents a late yet significant work in its most comprehensive form. This text asserts that the departed soul can traverse the entirety of Egypt, visit sacred sites, partake in festivals, and engage with divine entities and departed relatives and friends. The book was designed to facilitate the deceased's resurrection, commencing with the phrase, "Thy soul lives in heaven in the presence of Ra." Thy Ka has attained the divine essence of the deities. Your physical form resides in the tomb, in the presence of Osiris. Among the living, your spirit is exalted. Your descendants thrive on earth in the presence of Keb, and your name is securely established through the words of those who adhere to the Book of Traversing Eternity. You emerge by day. You are with the sun god Aten. The text asserts that the cadaver can respire, articulate, ingest, imbibe, perceive, audiate, and ambulate, with all bodily organs functioning correctly. 3 words were formulated for recitation during the festivals of Osiris and were closely linked to the cult of this deity. They gained significant popularity during the Greco-Roman era and were originally created for recitation during the festival days. The subsequent items are enumerated: Nephthys's Lamentations, Isis's Lamentations, festival songs of Isis and Nephthys, enhancing the spirit of Osiris in the Book of Osiris. If the book were recited for any deceased individual, it would exalt his spirit, fortify his corporeal form, elate his Ka, and give him breath and air through his nostrils. 2 fair women, embodying Isis and Nephthys, performed the initial of these compositions on the 25th day of the 4th month, October-November, of the season, Akhet. Each individual held a vessel of water in their right hand and a Memphis cake of bread on their left. One was inscribed with the name Isis on her shoulder, while the other bore the name Nephthys. The Kerheb and Setim priests observed as the fair women took turns singing the sections. A papyrus discovered in Berlin contains the following passages. Isis declares, "Approach the abode, O An. Return to your dwelling. Your adversary, Set, has been vanquished. O handsome boy, hasten to your home. I cannot perceive you, and my heart mourns for you. My gaze follows you. I pursue you in hopes of seeing you. I await your presence, Prince. I long to see you. It is a joy to behold you. It is a joy to behold you." The pronouncement of Un-Nefer guarantees the veracity. Thus come to the one you cherish, O Un-Nefer. You, with a tranquil heart, return to your spouse. Allow me to introduce myself. I am your sister from your mother's womb. Keep me near. You possess the visages of men and deities directed towards you, all weeping in unison. Upon your sight, I cried out, lamenting with a voice that ascended to the heavens, yet your voice remained unheard. No one on earth loved you more than your sister. Nephthys declares, "My exquisite prince, visit our residence. Rejoice, for your adversaries have been vanquished. Rejoice, for your adversaries have disappeared. Your sisters vigilantly protect your coffin. They address you with tears in their eyes. You are the supreme deity among gods and men. Eradicate all the anguish within our hearts. O, our sovereign Lord, direct your gaze upon us. Your visage invigorates our countenances. Do not forsake us. Your presence fills our hearts with joy. We eagerly anticipate your presence, O exquisite monarch. Your sister Nephthys has affection for you. Seba no longer exists. The fiend has succumbed. In the 4th month of the season of Akhet, during the 5-day Osiris festival, the festival songs of Isis and Nephthys were performed in honor of Osiris. 2 virgins, Isis and Nephthys, adorned with sheepskin hats and clutching tambourines, performed this song. The papyrus from the British Museum reveals that both women performed the sections in unison. An illustration of the work's substance is evident in the subsequent excerpt. Permit me to behold your celestial visage, for I have yet to encounter you, and illuminate the way so that we may witness you in paradise when the firmament converges with the earth, casting shadows upon the world daily. My heart intensifies at your departure from the battlefield, just as it ignites when you present your profile to me. I hope you will never remove it from me. Due to my affection for you, I aspire to perceive you as the one who reconciles the two domains, Egypt, north and south. You soar like a sentient entity, eternal sovereign, obliterating Anrek. You are the sovereign of the south and the north, emerging from Tachasert. My brother who departs from Akkad, may I perpetually fill your heart for the entirety of your life. O beloved, I extend my arms to shield you. I am delighted to welcome you peacefully into our home, my esteemed husband, brother, Lord of love. Upon your emergence from the turquoise fields, I observe the most exquisite lapis lazuli and turquoise. Your skin and body resemble southern alabaster, while your bones are composed of silver. Your hair emits the fragrance of fresh myrrh, and your skull is composed of lapis lazuli. A third composition, the Book of Making Splendid the Spirit of Osiris, was performed during the Grand Festival of Osiris in November-December at Abydos and other prominent cities in Egypt. When sung on behalf of an individual, it guarantees their resurrection and perpetually renewed life. This excerpt from the hieratic text, discovered on papyrus in Paris, exemplifies its content. Come to thy house, O An. O beautiful bull, Lord of humanity, O beautiful countenance, O An-Nefer, whose utterance embodies truth. Are not all hearts intoxicated by your affection, Prince Kenti Amentu? Provide solace to their hearts as they are sorrowful. The territories of Horus exult in trepidation of you, while the realms of Set collapse. Salutations to Osiris Kenti Amentu. I take great pleasure in being your sister, Isis. What I have accomplished for you is unparalleled by any deity. I created a man-child to ensure your name endures on earth. I manifested your divine essence within my body. His entreaties, restoration, and proclamations regarding annihilating the entity responsible for your anguish were entirely for your advantage. The summit fiends of Set trailed him beneath his blade. O you who are his cherished son, the throne of the earth god belongs to you. Your body is healthy, wounds are healed, suffering is alleviated, and you will no longer experience pain. We shall thrive upon your arrival, dear sisters. Upon your arrival, men will lament and women will shed tears of joy. Through your speech, the Nile manifests. Through your limbs, humanity thrives. And through your hands, every field prospers. The deceased will be resurrected upon your arrival, and the flora of the marsh will flourish. Every created entity owes its existence to you, the Lord of eons and fauna. The earth is yours. It belongs to you. What exists in the celestial realm? You possess ownership of the waters. Truth is your sovereign. Transgressors are your adversaries, whom you vanquish through disdain. The goddesses of truth are perpetually by your side. They never abandon you. A sinful individual cannot access your location. Life and death are under your dominion, and all matters pertaining to humanity are yours. The final three works were further condensed during the Roman occupation of Egypt, and ultimately the texts deemed crucial for salvation were inscribed on small sheets of papyrus measuring 9 to 12 inches in height and 5 to 10 inches in width. Given their deep belief in resurrection and immortality and their extensive thought about future life, the Egyptians must have theorized about the constitution of the heaven in which they intended to live forever, and its creator. As translated in the previous pages, Egyptian theologians were willing to describe heaven and life for the blessed and the attributes and powers of the gods, but they were reluctant to explain their origin and creation. Every significant town had its own local belief about the creator of all, and the worshippers of each god proclaimed him to be the creator of all. Heliopolis held that Atum or Tem, and later Ra, was the creator. Memphite theology held that he was Ptah. Hermopolitans held that he was Thoth, and Thebans held that he was Amun, Amun. There has only been one recorded account of the creation in a native Egyptian work until now, namely the British Museum Papyrus, number 10,188. The papyrus dates from about 305 BC, so it is relatively late, but its works are thousands of years older and are only their late forms. The Book of Overthrowing Apep, the adversary of Ra, the adversary of Un-Nefer, represents the final work of the papyrus, encompassing the creation story. This liturgy was recited day and night in the Amun-Ra temple at Thebes to thwart the monster Apep from hindering the sunrise. Apep was anticipated to ambush the sun just before dawn to usurp him. The sun god initially cast a spell upon Apep, rendering him powerless. Subsequently, he unleashed his fiery rays, desiccating him, and the deity's flames ultimately consumed him. The red fiends and black fiends, alongside all dark forces, forged an alliance with the deity Apep. The priests of Amen-Ra recited incantations intended to assist the sun god in incinerating, while they trampled waxen effigies of the monster and desecrated them with curses. It was also believed that spells and burnings could disperse rain clouds, fog, and mist, mitigate thunderstorms, and enable the sun to ascend in this realm devoid of shadows. This papyrus contains two versions of the Book of Understanding Ra's Creation and Overthrowing. One version comprises a few additional pages, but is fundamentally similar. The book's opening statement asserts that God Nebuchadnezzar, or God himself, articulated the words. In their theological texts, Copts and Egyptian Christians utilize this name as a designation for God Almighty, the Lord of all, the God of the universe. I was metamorphosed into the deity Khepera. I originated under the condition of Patti, or in antiquity. I constituted myself from the primordial matter, the essence of ancient times. N.U. It was the sole entity that existed at that time. Pathogens were present in all subsequent elements. Initially only God existed. Neither heaven nor earth was present, and God could not be situated upon them. He stated that his corporeal manifestation occurred upon articulating his name as a potent incantation. Subsequently, he articulated a different type of power word, creating his soul, Baa, which functioned in harmony with his heart, Aba. Nebuchadnezzar, or his manifest form Khepera, contemplated the state of the entity he was conjuring before articulating its name, and upon uttering the word, the object materialized in either heaven or earth. God generated the deities Shu and Tefnut from his corporeal form and its shadow to populate the heavens. In this initial triad of deities, Nebuchadnezzar, or Khepera, represented the concept of one God manifested as three, indicating that the one God possessed three distinctly unique aspects. Subsequently, a fluid entity, Nu, materialized, and illumination radiated upon its surface, culminating in the eye of Nebuchadnezzar, Ra. Ultimately, Shu and Tefnut amalgamated to form Keb and Nut, deities of the earth and sky respectively. As noted by Pepi the Fur, the custom of Shu and Tefnut's origin traces back to the era of the pyramids, line 466. The text refers to a disaster that affected Nebuchadnezzar's or Khepera's eye, yet the specifics of the event remain ambiguous. Nonetheless, the eye ceased to emit light. In this time of darkness, God created a second eye, the moon, to mitigate the inconvenience of this recurring absence of light. The superior eye governed the days, whereas the inferior eye governed the nights. Each night, the darkness heralded the descent of the sky goddess Nut to the earth god Keb. Osiris, Horus, Set, Isis, and Nephthys originated the deities. Our text references Nephthys, whereas Anpu and Anubis are not mentioned. Osiris married Isis, resulting in the birth of their son, Horus. Osiris, the reincarnation of his great-grandfather, emerged as the principal ancestral deity of Egypt. In ancient Egypt, the term for men is closely associated in form and phonetics with the term for tears, which originated from the eye of Khepera, the sun god. The text does not reference the creation of the beasts of the field, yet it is evident that God asserts the creation of terrestrial creatures and various creeping animals. Flora, including plants, vegetables, herbs, and trees, is a consequence of moonlight illuminating the earth. The progeny of Nebuchadnezzar, or Khepera, reproduced distinctively, populating the earth with their offspring. This text associates the ancient creation myth with the influence of the priests of Heliopolis. In Heliopolis, only ancient deities manifest as powers of creation, having been venerated for centuries before the priests established their sun god cult and associated it with the region's older gods. Your text from 305 BC does not reference deities like Ptah or Amun, whose renown increased in subsequent eras. The Egyptians believed that all the prominent gods and goddesses once inhabited Earth and governed Egypt akin to the pharaohs, with whom they had varying degrees of familiarity. It is customary to believe that they engaged personally in human affairs and exerted considerable effort to enhance their happiness and welfare. Alongside their divine qualities, they possessed human-like characteristics and physical forms, chiefly due to their predominantly benevolent governance. Alongside experiencing emotions and passions, they were also expected to be susceptible to accidents affecting humans, age, and ultimately perish. For numerous years, Ra governed Egypt as a remarkable deity. Throughout Egyptian history, Alexander the Great's reign was characterized by justice and righteousness, establishing him as the quintessential monarch. Rather than deities governing Egypt, his mother's spouse served merely as his titular father. Following acknowledgement from the god Ammon in the oasis of Siwa, Alexander the Great traveled to the sanctuary of Ammon. This acknowledgement established him as the legitimate sovereign of Egypt. Circa 1350 BC, Seti I inscribed this legend in hieroglyphs on the walls of a small chamber within his tomb. After Ra governed the deities and humanity for a period, mortals expressed discontent, stating, "His Majesty has grown old. His bones have transformed into silver, his flesh into gold, and his hair into lapis lazuli." In reaction to these grievances, His Majesty convened the goddess Hathor, Shu, Tefnut, Keb, Nut, and their progenitors, who resided with him in the primordial waters of Enyu, along with Enyu, the deity of this water. To avert suspicion and potential flight, they were to clandestinely assemble their adherents at the great house in Heliopolis to confer with Ra. As the deities convened in the great house, they paid tribute to Ra, proclaiming, "Speak, for we are attentive." Ra subsequently directed his words to Nu, stating, "Speak, for we are attentive." The father of the firstborn gods instructed him to observe the actions of men as they whispered in dissent against him. He then stated, "Explain your course of action. Assess the circumstances, formulate a strategy, and I shall abstain from executing them until I receive your answer." Nu responded, "O my son Ra, you surpass the deity who fashioned you, Num himself. Allow your eye, Hathor, to strike those who defame you." The deities responded, "Allow my eye to emerge and annihilate those who have committed blasphemy against you, for no eye can withstand its advance in the guise of Hathor." Subsequently, the eye of Ra, or Hathor, pursued the blasphemers in the mountains and exterminated them all. Ra welcomed her return, expressing his appreciation for her efforts in vanquishing humanity. Ra proclaimed his intention to reign over humanity and to obliterate them in retaliation. Hathor Sekhmet, traversed through the blood of men for 3 nights, commencing at Hensu, Heracleopolis Magna. Upon the arrival of the mandrakes in Abu, a town situated at the base of the first cataract, the majesty of Ra entrusted them to the god Sekti for crushing. The powdered mandrakes were incorporated into vessels designated for beer, alongside the blood of those slain by Hathor, while enslaved women ground grain for the brew. Subsequently, they prepared and filled 7,000 vessels with the beer. Upon witnessing the beer, Ra commanded its distribution throughout the meadows of the 4 quarters of heaven. Upon consuming the beer infused with blood and mandrakes, the goddess Hathor became exceedingly jovial. Intoxication overtook her, leading her to forget men and cease her killings. Subsequent Hathor festivals featured the creation of a sleepy bear which participants ingested. Ra's transgressors perished, yet the deity remained discontent and lamented to the gods regarding his affliction. The gods retorted, "Do not fret over your inaction, for your strength is commensurate with your desire." He replied, "I am weary of cohabiting with humanity. I have slain some, yet insignificant men persist, and I have not eradicated as many as I ought to have." The narrative states that Nut transformed into a cow, upon which the other deities elevated Ra. Observing Ra's imminent departure from Earth, the men expressed remorse for their grievances and resolved to combat the adversaries of the sun god. In recompense, Ra absolved them of their transgressions but remained resolute in his intention to withdraw from the earth. Upon ascending to the celestial realm, he established Sekhet Hetep and Sekhet Aru as sanctuaries for the blessed and transmuted the blooming flowers into stars. Shu's images uphold Nut's form. The myriad beings inhabiting that realm were also fashioned to extol him. To empower Nut, Ra decreed that the divine essence and elevated arms of Shu should support her, alongside the divine essence and elevated arms of the cow goddess upon which he was seated. Ra's throne attained stability by securing the cow goddess's legs. Upon this completion, Ra called forth the earth god Keb and informed him of the venomous reptiles dwelling on earth that threatened him. After consulting Thoth, he requested the preparation of a series of spells and incantations that would empower individuals to conquer snakes, serpents, and all lethal reptiles. Under Ra's guidance, Thoth inscribed these spells, ensuring the protection of Ra's servants and the support of Keb, who became the supreme lord of all beings on earth and beyond. In the Tuat and the land of the caves, Ra summoned Thoth before abdicating his active dominion over earth. He expressed his desire to create a luminous soul. They designated Thoth to govern this realm, instructing him to maintain a record of its inhabitants and administer justice. Thoth was to serve as Ra's representative in the other world eternally. The myth of Ra. This hieratic legend on papyrus in Turin depicts a segment of the preceding narrative. Ra commanded Thoth to compose a series of incantations to combat venomous reptiles, and the ensuing summary reveals Ra's noble intent. The legend commences with a catalogue of Ra's titles referred to as the self-created god who fashioned heaven, earth, the breath of life, fire, deities, humanity, animals, livestock, reptiles, avian creatures, and fish, and whose myriad names remain unknown even to the gods. It proceeds, "Isis was a woman in form and possessed potent words, yet she longed for the company of the gods and spirits, contemplating whether by knowing the name of Ra she could elevate herself to the greatness of Ra in heaven and on earth. He manifested in heaven daily but had aged, drooled at the mouth, and his saliva fell to the ground. Isis mixed saliva into a paste and shaped it into a serpent with a forked tongue, ensuring that anyone struck by it could not evade death. Ra positioned this figure along the path as she ascended to heaven after surveying the two lands, i.e., Egypt. Shortly thereafter, Ra ascended, accompanied by his deities, and entered the heavens. But he was struck by the serpent as he traversed. Following the bite, he screamed with such intensity that his voice resonated to the farthest reaches of heaven, experiencing the searing pain departing from his body. Promptly the deities approached him and inquired, "What is amiss?" Initially, Ra was rendered speechless as his jaws and lips quivered while the venom coursed through his entire being. Upon regaining strength, he informed the gods that he had been bitten by a lethal creature, one he had neither encountered nor created. He proclaimed his greatness and power to the attentive gods, revealing that his parents had concealed his name on his body to prevent any spell or command from dominating him. Notwithstanding this, he faced an unfamiliar force. His inquiry was, "Is it fire?" The deities surrounding him expressed their mournful cries, and Isis manifested at that instant. "Is it water? Excruciating pains inundate my body. My heart quakes, my limbs quiver. Excruciating pains inundate my body. My heart quakes, my limbs quiver." In reply to Ra, she inquired, "Has a serpent struck you? Has something you created turned against you?" He asserted, "Indeed, my words of power shall dismantle it." Ra told Isis, "I am colder than water, hotter than fire. My vision is unsteady in every regard. The inundation has obscured my face with water, making it impossible to look at the sky." When Isis inquired, "Father, reveal your name, for he who can articulate his own name endures," Ra responded, "I am the creator of heaven and earth. I meticulously assembled everything on earth. I was the originator of the waters. I created Meterit. By instilling souls into the concealed deities of the horizon, I brought forth Kamutef, heaven, and the two hidden gods of the horizon. My eyes radiate light upon opening. They are shrouded in darkness when closed. The waters of the Nile manifest upon my utterance. The deities remain oblivious to my existence. I dictate the passage of hours. I forge the days. As the year commences, I initiate it. I am the architect of the river Nile. The operations in the foundries and workshops are executed by the living fire I conjure. While the serpent's venom coursed through Ra's veins, the enumeration of his deeds provided no solace. "Among all the entities you have designated to me, you have not disclosed your own name," Isis remarked to Ra. "Disclose your name, and the venom shall emanate from you." Ra remained indecisive. The toxin continued searing through his bloodstream, its intensity surpassing any flame. Ultimately, he proclaimed, "Isis shall thoroughly examine me. My name shall become hers." Subsequently, he concealed himself from the deities for a time, leaving his throne vacant. When God's heart was transferred to Isis, the goddess instructed her son Horus, "The great God must vow to bestow upon us his two eyes, the sun and moon." Isis then recited the following incantation, "Ra shall endure, the toxin will perish. If the poison persists, Ra shall perish." These were the utterances of Isis, the formidable goddess, the queen of the deities, who recognized Ra by his true name. She proclaimed, "Expel the poison from Ra. Allow the eye of Horus to emerge from the deity." Historically, magicians inscribed this legend on papyrus and marketed it as snakebite amulets alongside depictions of Temu and Heru Hekenu, who imparted Ra's secret name and images of Isis and Horus. Of Behutet, extensive bas-reliefs in the Temple of Edfu, located in Upper Egypt, depict various incidents from this legend. Although it assumes a Ptolemaic form, the content of the legend is ancient, predating it by thousands of years. An early king invaded Egypt from the south, conquering all regions, including the northern delta, serving as the legend's foundation. The events described are believed to have transpired during the reign of Ra on earth. In the 363rd year of Ra Harmachis' reign, His Majesty resided in Tasti, the land of the bow, or Nubia, with his soldiers while the enemy reviled him, leading to the land being referred to as Wawatet. Heru-Behutet, Horus of Edfu, accompanied Ra as he journeyed from Nubia to Apollinopolis, Edfu. Ra commanded Horus to eliminate the adversaries upon his arrival, informing him of their conspiracy against him. Horus manifested as a magnificent winged disk. After ascending into the sky and pursuing the foes, he struck them with such overwhelming force that they were rendered both sightless and deaf, resulting in the instantaneous demise of every enemy. In the guise of a multicolored winged disk, Horus returned to the boat of Rahamakis and proclaimed, "Proceed, Ra, and behold your enemies prostrate beneath you in this territory." Ra commenced his journey, accompanied by Ashtoreth, and observed his adversaries bound upon the ground. Upon surveying his vanquished foes, Ra addressed the deities, "Observe, embark upon our vessel upon the waters, for our spirits are elated due to the defeat of our adversaries on the earth." Ra's boat navigated northward while the foes along the banks, resembling crocodiles and hippopotami, attempted to intimidate the deity by consuming the vessel and its divine occupants. Among the crew was a contingent of followers of Horus from Edfu, each wielding an iron spear and a chain. Blacksmiths cast their chains into the river, ensnaring the legs of the crocodiles and hippopotami, subsequently dragging the creatures toward the boat's bow, where they were dispatched with their spears. Following the carnage, Edfu received and arranged the remains of 651 crocodiles. The celestial gods rejoiced as Thoth beheld this, proclaiming, "Let your hearts exult, let your hearts exult." Salutations, terrestrial deities. Upon the arrival of the young Horus, tranquility prevails. He exhibited extraordinary bravery during his journey, as chronicled in the Book of Slaying the Hippopotamus. Consequently, metal effigies of Horus were created from that moment onward. Subsequently, Horus of Edfu manifested as a winged disk and boarded the boat of Ra. He also accompanied Nekabet, the goddess of the south, and Uatchet, the goddess of the north. In reverence of God, his adversaries who initially retreated to the north reversed their course toward the south. Horus and his blacksmiths pursued, captured, and exterminated numerous foes with spears and chains in Upper Egypt. Although several managed to escape back to the north, Horus relentlessly pursued them for an entire day, resulting in their slaughter. Upon learning of their allies' defeat, God's other adversaries fled to Lower Egypt, seeking refuge in the delta swamps. Horus relentlessly pursued and apprehended them, enduring 4 days in the water. He vanquished adversaries who sought to evade him by transforming into crocodiles and hippopotami. He seized 102 enemy combatants and a male hippopotamus aboard the boat of Ra. He presented the dismembered corpses and entrails to the deities within the boat of Ra and in the town of Heban. Their faces oriented towards the Lake of the North as they attempted to navigate to the Mediterranean in vessels. However, frightened by Horus, they abandoned their ships and retreated to Mertet Ament, where they allied with the devotees of Set, the malevolent deity residing in the western delta. Horus relentlessly pursued them in his boat throughout the day and night without sighting them, ultimately arriving at Per Rehue. Eventually, he discerned the location of the adversaries, and he, along with his followers, exterminated a significant number of them. He captured 381 alive and transported them to the boat of Ra, subsequently executing them and distributing their remains to his followers or bodyguard, who presumably consumed them. Certain African regions continue consuming the bodies of adversaries, a tradition that has persisted for millennia in Egypt. The ancient editor of the legend conflated Horus, son of Isis and Osiris, with Horus, the primordial sun god. Subsequently, Set emerged and denounced Horus for the massacre of his followers, employing the most ignominious invectives. In a confrontation with Set, referred to as the stinking face, Horus overpowered him, casting him to the ground and impaling him. After shattering Set's jaw with his mace, Horus bound him with chains and presented him to Ra, who decreed that Set be surrendered to Isis and her son Horus for their discretion. Horus, son of Isis, then decapitated Set in Ra's presence and dragged him by his feet, with his spear transfixing Set's head and back. During that period, Horus of Edfu manifested as a figure of immense power, adorned with the double crown, embellished with feathers and serpents, and wielding a metal spear and chain. Horus, the progeny of Isis, assumed a comparable guise, and the two Horuses vanquished all adversaries on the western bank of the river. The massacre transpired on the 7th day of the inaugural month of the Pert season, designated as Sailing Festival Day. Despite being slain as a man, Set reappeared as an excellent hissing serpent and settled in a hole in the ground without being noticed by Horus. Ra, however, saw him. Ra ordered Horus, the son of Isis, to live at the mouth of the hole to prevent the monster from returning among the men. Isis, his mother, lived there with him. A remnant of Set's followers had escaped and were hiding in the swamps of the eastern delta under the direction of the Smate fiends and of Set, who had reappeared. In the presence of Ra, Horus of Edfu pursued them, speared them, and finally slew them. In the district, Ra had no more enemies to be found on land, even though Horus spent 6 days and 6 nights searching for them. However, several followers of Set in water reptile forms were lying on the ground underwater, and Horus saw them. The tomb of Osiris in Anrutef was under strict guard at this time by Horus. He learned that the smart friends planned to destroy both it and God's body. Her husband's foes would not approach her husband's body while she recited spells and incantations. In the meantime, the blacksmiths of Horus, who were in charge of the middle regions of Egypt, found the enemy's body and attacked them fiercely, killing many of them and taking 126 prisoners. The blacksmiths of the west slew both sets of prisoners before Ra. In return for their services, Ra bestowed dwelling places on the blacksmiths, allowed them to build temples containing images of their gods, and arranged for offerings and libations to be offered to them by priests of different classes. Following these events, Ra discovered that many of his enemies were still at large. As soon as Horus unmoored the boat of Ra, he set out against them. Some hid in the waters, while others landed and fled to the hilly land to the east. Horus transformed into a roaring lion with a man's face for some reason, which is unclear. His head was embellished with a triple crown. He pursued the adversary across the hills with flint-like claws, capturing 142. He extracted their tongues, dismembered their bodies with his claws, and distributed the remains to his mountain allies who likely consumed them. After combating in northern Egypt, Ra suggested they return south by navigating the river. The boat of Ra had traversed the entirety of Egypt, navigated the delta lakes, and descended the Nile's branches to the Mediterranean. With no enemies in sight, the prow was directed southward. Eventually, the boat arrived in Nubia after Thoth invoked spells that generated arid conditions and uttered incantations that quelled storms. Horus discovered men plotting against him and denouncing him in the land of Wawatet, reminiscent of their previous blasphemy against Ra. Assuming the guise of a winged disk, Horus confronted the insurrectionists, accompanied by Nekhabet and Yachit. This time there was no combat, as the adversaries were paralyzed by fear. They offered no resistance and perished instantly while prostrate before him. The gods extolled his valor upon Horus's return to Behutet, Edfu. Delighted, he commanded Thoth to install a winged disk flanked by serpents in every temple dedicated to Ra across Egypt, ensuring protection against malevolent entities. Consequently, winged disks with serpents adorn the entrances of temples and religious edifices throughout the region. Numerous passages in the text recount this legend, attempting to elucidate the origins of various towns and deities. In later Egyptian history, scribes integrated these accounts into the narrative. Due to the book's limited scope, their inclusion is omitted, as reproducing them without contextual annotations would prove unhelpful. The myth of Khnemu. Located on Sahal, a tiny island in the First Cataract in Upper Egypt, 2 or 3 miles south of Aswan, the ancient Siene, this legend is cut in hieroglyphs on a sizable rounded granite block. The legend, hieroglyphs, and word spelling indicate that the inscription is from the Ptolemaic period, but its simplest form may date back to the 3rd dynasty, about 4100 BC. During King Caesar, there was a 7-year famine, which recalls the famine in Egypt when Joseph lived there. During this famine, the king was believed to have neglected to worship Khnemu, who controlled the Nile springs, which were claimed by the sages to be located between 2 large rocks on the island of Elephantine. Reign of Chesser, the viceroy of Nubia, was a nobleman named Meter, who was also the keeper of all the temple properties. This is to inform you that misery has laid hold upon me as I sit on the throne of the great house, and I grieve for those who dwell there. The king's residence was in Abu or Elephantine, and in the 18th year of his reign, he received this dispatch from the king. This is to inform you that my heart grieves for those who inhabit the great house. The lack of water in the Nile for 7 years has greatly afflicted my heart. Everything men use for food, from grain to garden herbs and vegetables, has run out. Each of us robs our neighbor. There is a desire to walk about, but the people cannot move. A baby wails, and a young man shuffles on his feet due to weakness. Their hearts are broken with despair. Their legs give way under them, and they lay down exhausted on the ground with their hands on their bellies. Upon opening the public granaries meant to hold supplies, they emit nothing but wind. The authorities are impotent and unable to provide guidance. Desolation has engulfed all. As I reflect on my past, I remember the era of the deities, the ibis god Thoth, and Imhotep, Imuthis, the high priest of Kerheb. Inquire, O my God, what is the origin of the Nile? Is it governed by a deity or a goddess? What is the nature of God's form? My income is derived from him, and my granaries are abundant with grain due to his influence. The benevolence of the chief of Het-Sekhmet fortifies all individuals in their endeavors. I desire to enter the house of life and scrutinize the bookstores to ascertain these matters. Upon perusing the royal dispatch, Viceroy Meter approached the king and upon arrival addressed the inquiries he had posed. According to the text, the king says, "Meter told me everything about the rise of the Nile that had been written. He explained to me all the difficult passages in the books that my ancestors had consulted hastily, and which had never been explained to a king since the time of Ari Maumau. According to him, there is a town along the Nile from which it emerges. Since its inception, people have called it Abu, also known as the City of the Beginning. To Wawatet, it reaches on the south, the first land. When Ra determines to prolong life for humanity, he rests upon the steps, a nilometer, there. We call the two Kerti, the two breasts from which good things come, Netchemchem Ankh. Here is the bed of the Nile, where the Nile god renews his youth and where he sends out the flood. At Hermopolis, in the delta, his waters rise 28 cubits high. At Hermopolis, they are 7 cubits high. The Nile god pours water through these 2 doors by smiting the ground with his sandals. The Nile god dwells here as Shu, who accounts for all the goods produced in Egypt so that everyone gets what he is owed. These are the cords for measuring land and estate registers. The god lived in a wooden house with a red door and a roof made of branches of trees. The southeast entrance was at the rear of the house. Around it are stone mountains, where quarrymen come with their tools to build temples to the gods. shrines for sacred animals, pyramids for kings, or statues. Their sweet-smelling offerings are presented before the face of Khnemu in the sanctuary, and here they offer sacrifices of all kinds. Granite quarries called the Stone of Abu are along the riverbank. The granite deities include Sept, Sothis, the dog star, Anket, Hep, the Nile god, Shu, Keb, Nut, Osiris, Horus, Isis, and Nephthys. This site also yields alabaster, mother of emerald plant seeds utilized for incense production, and silver, gold, copper, iron, lapis lazuli, emerald, crystal, ruby, and other precious stones. Meter, the viceroy, imparted this knowledge to me. The meter was organized so the king could personally visit the temple of Khnemu following the notification of the Nile's rise. As per the legend, the king recounted his visit in his own words. Upon entering the temple, the keepers unfastened and displayed the rolls to me. The deities of Abu sanctified me with sacred water, allowing me to traverse areas restricted to common individuals, while a substantial offering of cakes, ale, geese, oxen, and other items was presented in my honor. I presented my offerings to God, Khnemu, prayed, and made supplications to him. He opened his eyes, his heart directed towards me, and proclaimed, "I am Khnemu, who created you. My 2 hands shaped and assembled your body. I rendered your limbs intact and bestowed upon you your heart. Despite this, the stones have been lying under the ground for ages, and no one has worked them to build a god house, restore ruins, build shrines for the gods of the south and north, or do what he ought to do for his Lord. I am Nu, the great god, born from the beginning. The Nile god Hep rises at will to give health to those who work for him. I am the governor and guide of all men throughout history, the greatest, the father of the gods, and Shu, the chief of the earth. Heaven's 2 halves are my abode. I pour out the Nile in a stream, and it flows around the tilled lands. The embrace of the Nile produces life for everyone who breathes. In no year will the Nile fail to rise for you, and its water shall cover every land satisfactorily. There will be bending under the weight of the produce of plants, herbs, and trees. All products will increase 100,000-fold based on the cubit of the year under the goddess Rennet, the harvest goddess. Indeed, everyone will experience complete satisfaction. No individual shall experience want, and the granaries will be filled. Mera's territory will be characterized by golden fields and plentiful grain harvests. The king awakened at the mention of crops. His valor surged, equal to the magnitude of his prior despondency. The land's fertility shall align with the husbandman's aspirations. It shall exceed all previous abundance. Upon departing from God's chamber, the king allocated lands and offerings to the temple of Khnemu and instituted regulations mandating farmers to remit specific dues. A tithe was imposed on every fisherman and hunter. The temple received 1/10 of the calves presented as daily offerings. During transit to Abu, no local tribe was permitted to impose duties on gold, ivory, ebony, spices, precious stones, and wood, irrespective of the owner's Egyptian nationality. Artisans were required to pay tithes, except those employed in the temple's foundry, which produced images of the deities. Furthermore, the king decreed that a replica of the edict, originally inscribed on wood, be engraved on a stele to be positioned in the sanctuary, adorned with figures of Khnemu and his accompanying deities above it. The king would chastise anyone who spat upon the stele with a rope. The accompanying volume indicates that Osiris once existed and ruled on earth. Due to his popularity, his twin brother Set harbored intense animosity towards him and orchestrated a scheme to eliminate him. Although no text explicitly confirms this, it is evident that Set abducted his brother's wife Isis and confined her in his residence following his usurpation of Osiris's kingdom. The subsequent legend delineates the occurrences surrounding the demise and resurrection of Isis and Horus, safeguarded by the deity Thoth. A stone stele inscribed with hieroglyphs is thought to have been created for Ankh-Psemthek, a prophet of Nebun, during the reign of Nectanebus I, who ruled from 373 BC to 360 BC. It was excavated in 1828 in Alexandria and presented to Prince Metternich by Muhammad Ali Pasha. As per the legend, Isis recounts the tale. My brother Set confined me in a dwelling from which I managed to flee. In both the celestial and terrestrial realms, Thoth, the Prince of Truth, proclaimed, "Come, Isis, it is prudent to listen for the one who is directed by another existence. Conceal yourself with a child, and these events shall transpire for him. He shall ascend to his father's throne, exact vengeance, and assume the esteemed title of Governor of the Two Lands." I departed from Set's residence in the evening, accompanied by the 7 scorpions poised to sting me. 2 followed behind, Tephen and Bephen. 2 flanked me, Mestet and Mestetef, and 3 led the way, Petet, Thetet, and Matet. I instructed them to avert their gaze to the ground, refrain from speaking to anyone, avoid the red fiends, and disregard any servants. At the entrance of the Papyrus Swamps district, their leader guided me to Pasui, the town of the sacred sandals. Upon arrival, I entered a quarter of Teb inhabited by women. A self-assured woman of distinction noticed me on the path and promptly closed her door, fearing the 7 scorpions I bore. Tephen's narrative was tainted when they deliberated regarding her. I entered the residence of a modest woman named Taha, who welcomed me at her door. The scorpion Tephen infiltrated Usert's home and stung her son, igniting a conflagration. There was no water available to extinguish it. Yet the heavens bestowed rain despite it not being the rainy season. She cried out for assistance as she traversed the town, but no one emerged to aid her. Her heart was heavy with despair as she was uncertain of her son's fate. I felt sorrow for the child and wished for its revival. She approached me as I wept. "Come to me." She approached me as I summoned, "Come to me." She approached me. My voice is vibrant. My name is renowned in her community. I can vanquish the demon of death using an incantation imparted by my father. He regards me as his cherished daughter. Isis recited the incantation over the child. "Advance no further, Tephen poison, descend to the earth. Ally with poison, emerge and descend to the earth. Isis is the goddess of might, the sovereign of language. I craft spells. I possess the knowledge to articulate words that wield influence. Attend to me, O serpent that bites or stings and descends to the earth. Advance no further, Mestet poison. Mestetef's toxin must not ascend within his body. The venom of Petet and Thetet must not infiltrate his body. Allow the poison of Matet to descend to the earth. Do not ascend to the heavens. I command you by the beloved of Ra, the goose egg that emerges from the sycamore. Indeed, my words possess the capacity to entirely dominate the night. Listen, scorpions. Take heed. The odor of our names will permeate the world as I stand solitary and in grief. We shall rescue the child. The poison shall perish. The poison perishes when Ra endures. Horus shall be preserved through Isis, and those afflicted shall also be salvaged. Isis's declaration appeased the heavens while quelling the flames in Usert's abode. After closing her door to Isis, Lady Usert was engulfed in sorrow and presented offerings to the peasant woman's dwelling for the goddess whom she had failed to recognize. It can be inferred that the goddess's incantations eradicated the poison and revived the child's life. The subsequent offerings his mother bestowed upon Isis symbolized her gratitude. Within a cluster of papyrus plants, Isis conceived Horus, whom I subsequently brought into existence. I rejoiced, for I recognized in him a successor to his father. In a secure location, Isis delivered Horus, and I meticulously concealed him to avoid detection. Aware of my potential to incite discord, the populace expressed gratitude towards me. I devoted the day to foraging sustenance for the infant, but upon my return, I discovered Horus lifeless, the exquisite child of gold. His tears had stained the earth, and foam adorned his lips. His body lay inert, his heart unyielding, and his muscles slack. Isis emitted a mournful wail, lamenting her tragic fate, for Horus was now deceased. She had lost her protector and avenger against Set. Despite the numerous expressions of sorrow on her behalf, Horus could not be resurrected. Her suffering was profound, and the populace mourned alongside her. Isis received solace from a prominent woman in her community, an independent landowner, who reassured her that the child would survive through his mother. Subsequently, Isis leaned over the child and discovered that he was breathing. Upon examining the wound, she identified the presence of poison, and then cradling him in her arms, she leaped about with him like a fish placed on hot coals, lamenting loudly in her anguish. Nephthys' sister mourned profoundly during this episode of sorrow, accompanied by the scorpion goddess Serket. Nephthys promptly advised Isis to beseech Ra for aid, as the boat of Ra cannot traverse the sky while Horus remains deceased. Isis implored the boat of millions of years, prompting the sun god to halt its journey. Thoth emerged, armed with potent spells, and inquired about Isis's plight. "The boat of Ra shields Horus from malevolence, O Isis, goddess of assaults whose words wield formidable power. I have come from the boat of the disk to restore Horus." Thoth reassured Isis, stating that he had arrived to heal her child. He informed her that Horus was safeguarded as the dweller in his disk, the firstborn son of heaven, the mighty ram, and the great hawk. He was directed by the sacred scarab, the concealed form, the ruler of the netherworld, the divine Bennu bird, the incantations of Isis, the appellations of Osiris, the lamentations of his mother and siblings, as well as his own heart and disposition. He faced the child and intoned his incantations, proclaiming, "Awaken, Horus. Your safeguard has been secured. Bring joy to your mother Isis, for the utterances of Horus mend hearts and solace the afflicted. Let your hearts exult, O inhabitants of the heavens. Horus, who has avenged his father, shall dispel the poison." In the location where the disk, the sun god, was present yesterday to restore Horus for Isis, the boat of Ra remains stationary and does not advance. Let the sustenance of Sekhem, Letopolis, be delivered here to restore Horus for Isis, O boat of Ra, O mariners of Ra. It is time for you to descend to earth, poison. I am Thoth, the firstborn son of Ra. Horus must be restored for his mother, Isis, by Tem and the deities. The Ka of Horus safeguards you, and the likeness of Horus provides protection. Poison is vanquished as the offspring of its flame, for it struck down the mighty sun. Horus exists for his mother, thus ensuring the safety of your temples. Subsequently, his mother rejoiced upon his resurrection. All the heavenly deities celebrated as Thoth returned to the boat of millions of years. Isis instructed either Ar or Thoth to nurture and raise Horus under the guardianship of the goddesses of Ptep or Buto. Thoth promptly entrusted the child to them and provided guidance regarding his future. Horus, seeking retribution for the injustices inflicted by Set upon his father, was raised in Buto under their guardianship, and ultimately engaged in a duel with Set, defeating him. The legend of Kensu-Nefer-Hetep. The narrative of Kensu-Nefer assisting in expelling the malevolent spirit in the possessed princess of Becton may be included here. A substantial sandstone tablet inscribed with the legend's hieroglyphics was unearthed by J.F. Chaplin and was located in the Temple of Khensou at Thebes and was transported to Paris by priests d'Aven in 1846. This legend is likely the creation of the priests of Khensou, who aimed to exalt their deity around 1000 BC. However, the documented events occurred after the 14th century BC, suggesting the possibility of underlying historical truths. User Matre Stepens, Rameses Meri Amen, a monarch of the 19th dynasty circa 1300 BC, was in the region of Nehern, or Mesopotamia, as per his tradition. And the leaders of the area, including those from the most distant territories of Egypt, presented him with gifts, namely tribute. Gold, lapis lazuli, turquoise, and costly woods from the divine realm were among the resources each chief provided to surpass his neighbor. Alongside his customary offering, the Prince of Bekhten bestowed his eldest daughter upon the king, extolling him and invoking blessings for his longevity. She was exquisite, and the king deemed her the most beautiful maiden in the world. He bestowed upon her the name Neferu Ra and the title of Chief Royal Wife. Her Majesty regarded her as the Queen of Egypt upon her arrival. An official notified His Majesty of the arrival of an ambassador from the Prince of Bekhten, who brought numerous gifts for the royal wife during a festival honoring Father Amen, the king of the gods, at the temple currently referred to as the Temple of Luxor, in the 15th year of his reign. Upon entering the king's presence with his offerings, the ambassador honored him with suitable words and prostrated himself before His Majesty, conveying that he had to submit a petition on behalf of the queen's sister, Bentresht, meaning daughter of joy. Following an illness afflicting the princess, His Majesty dispatched a proficient physician to attend to her. Upon the arrival of the king's magicians and nobles, he informed them that he had dispatched them to heed the ambassador's petition. The king subsequently ordered them to select a member from their ranks who possessed both wisdom and skill. They chose Tehuti Emheb, who was dispatched to Bekhten to heal the princess. Upon arriving in Bekhten, the magician found that Princess Bentresht was possessed by a malevolent spirit impervious to his influence. Indeed, all his knowledge and abilities proved futile, as this spirit was antagonistic. 9 years after the arrival of the inaugural ambassador in Egypt, the Prince of Bekhten dispatched a second envoy to His Majesty, imploring him to send a deity to Bekhten to vanquish the malevolent spirit. During another festival of Amen, the king approached the statue of Khensou, known as Nefer Help, upon hearing the request of the Prince of Bekhten. He subsequently implored God to bestow his power upon Khensou, Pa'ari Seker Emwast, the expeller of malevolent spirits, to enable him to journey to Bekhten and liberate the princess from its dominion. Khensou Pa'ari Seker Emwast obtained a quadruple share of this deity's energy and power, as the statue of Khensou Nefer Help inclined twice at each segment of the petition. By the king's decree, a vessel carrying chariots, horses, and 5 smaller boats accompanied God on his voyage to Bekhten. Upon the conclusion of the 17-month expedition, the Prince of Bekhten and his nobles welcomed God with joy and reverence. Upon arriving at Princess Bentresht's residence, God promptly employed his magical abilities to restore her to wholeness. The malevolent entity that inhabited her addressed Khensou, proclaiming, "Greetings, O powerful deity, who repels the spirits that assail humanity. Bekhten belongs to you. Its inhabitants, both factions, are yours. The Prince of Bekhten and I wish to commemorate a festival with your majesty." Khensou bowed in acknowledgement and instructed his priest to coordinate an offering with the Prince of Bekhten. A profound dread seized the soldiers during the exchange between the malevolent spirit and God. Khensou and the malevolent spirit were exceedingly gratified by the offering of the Prince of Bekhten. Upon the festival's conclusion, the malevolent spirit, commanded by Khensou, departed to the place he cherished. The prince and his subjects were profoundly elated, and he resolved to prevent the deity from returning home. Khensu resided in Becton for 3 years and 9 months. However, one night while the prince slumbered, he experienced a vision in which Khensu, depicted as a hawk, departed from his shrine and soared toward Egypt. "The deity who resided with us has left for Egypt," he informed the priest of Khensu upon awakening. The prince dispatched the statue to Egypt with lavish gifts and a substantial contingent of soldiers and horses. Upon arriving in Thebes, the deity Khensu Pa Ari Seker Emwast entered the temple of Khensu Neferhetep. He offered all the gifts he had received from the prince of Becton, leaving nothing for his temple. By receiving a quadruple share of Khensu Neferhetep's spirit, he could vanquish the malevolent spirit that had possessed the princess of Becton, a consequence of this act of gratitude. Upon his safe return from Becton, Khensu re-entered his temple during the winter of the 33rd year of Ramesses II's reign. Becton's circumstances remain uncertain. However, the name is likely not fictitious, and the country was presumably situated in Western Asia. A mission of this nature would likely progress slowly during that period, as the priest would be hindered by individuals requesting divine intercession to heal the afflicted and ill. In their agreement with Diocletian, the Nubians mandated that the goddess Isis be permitted to exit her temple annually, allowing individuals to petition her for favors and receive them. Some Egyptologists assert that Egyptian history spans approximately 4,400 years and 3,300 years, during which Egypt was governed by monarchs referred to as Nesubati, meaning King of the South, King of the North. Approximately 200 monarchs governed Egypt during this period, yet only around 150 erected monuments that indicate their authority. No indigenous Egyptian text can be regarded as a history of Egypt in the contemporary understanding of the term. Manetho, an accomplished scribe and erudite scholar, endeavored to compose a history of Egypt during the reign of Ptolemy II Philadelphus, 289 BC, 246 BC, intended for the Great Library at Alexandria. The list of kings is the sole component of the works of Africanus and Eusebius, and it has endured in an intact format. For 5,380 years, Egypt was governed by 553 or 554 monarchs, whereas for 4,547 or 4,939 years, it was ruled by 421 or 423 monarchs. In the temple's House of Books, or library, the court scribes, also known as official rememberers or recorders, documented each king's principal actions and military campaigns. The Egyptians did not document their nation's history from a comprehensive viewpoint. The scribes of the 18th and subsequent 19th dynasties could not compile the lists of kings found on the Palermo stone, the Turin papyrus, and the tablets of Seti I and Ramesses II. The lists indicate that the educated scribes of the later period were not consistently certain about the precise order or the orthography and pronunciation of the titles of the kings from the first two dynasties. The courtiers of each king seized every opportunity to assert their belief that he was the most extraordinary king Egypt had ever known. Exaggerating his ancestors' accomplishments was neither politically advantageous nor secure, and it would not procure him favor or advancement. The remarkable achievements and significant victories of Amenemhat III, Usertsen III, and Thutmose III are absent from the inscriptions of their successors, and no court scribe has ever ventured to assert that these were Egypt's three most illustrious kings. He failed to document the illustrious accomplishments of the king, whose throne he usurped upon ascending as the sovereign of all Egypt. After the invasion and conquest of Egypt by external adversaries, their adherents pillaged its towns, incinerated and obliterated all movable assets, and vandalized monuments honoring the king's valor. Ultimately, we can only reconstruct a fragmented history of Egypt based on texts that exalt the kings rather than elucidate the nation's overall policy evolution. Inscriptions from high officials are more valuable for constructing a cohesive narrative of a reign or era than royal inscriptions. The subsequent pages contain official records such as annals, architectural descriptions, accounts of conquests, and triumph inscriptions. The chapter on biographical notes discusses military expeditions and provides valuable insights into historical events. Signor A. Pellegrini initially published the Egyptian text in 1896, inscribed on a stone located in the museum in Palermo, referred to as the Palermo Stone. The principal events documented span from the pre-dynastic period to the mid-5th dynasty. Uses III governed during the 8th year of this brief inscription. Krakauer, Usertsen III, imbued the southern frontier with perpetual vitality in the 8th year. Nevertheless, it must be treated appropriately in all respects. Individuals of African descent, whether traversing by land or sea with livestock such as cattle, donkeys, or goats, would be prohibited from proceeding downstream past this stone. This regulation is inapplicable to individuals journeying to Aachen for business or official assignments. The Hay region shall prohibit boats owned by the blacks from traversing the river. The methods and opinions of User III regarding the Sudani people are depicted in the inscription he established at Semna, a fortress located at the base of the Siko. I ventured further upstream than my ancestors. I issued commands. I execute my declarations as I am the sovereign. My actions manifest what my heart envisions. I am akin to a crocodile that seizes, transports, and annihilates without compassion. My heart is perpetually engaged with words and matters. Gentle discourse implies forbearance to the timid. I do not extend this to my adversaries. When confronted, I retaliate. When a situation necessitates silence, I remain mute. I reply only when warranted. An adversary's confidence swells following a period of silence after an assault. Crocodilian strikes must be abrupt. A coward hesitates, and a wretched individual becomes a vanquished man transformed into a subjugated being on his own territory. The black comprehends solely the spoken word. Upon addressing him, he capitulates. He pursues only those who retreat before him. The blacks are not audacious. They are timid and frail, possessing cowardly hearts. My Majesty has observed them, and I speak the truth. I affirm on my father's life that I abducted their women, took their laborers, accessed their wells, slaughtered their bulls, and incinerated their crops. When certainty prevails, I speak the truth, and my assertions are indisputable. My sons, who uphold the boundary established by my Majesty, are truly my sons. They safeguard their father as long as they maintain the perimeter set by their father. Anyone who allows the breach of this boundary and neglects to defend it is neither my son nor my child. We have erected a statue of my Majesty at this boundary for your prosperity and to inspire you to defend it. The Sudan Campaign. The following extract illustrates the king's successful expedition into a hostile country. A hieroglyphic inscription of Thothmes II is found on a rock by the old road leading from Elephantine to Philae and dates to the 1st year of the king's reign. In the opening lines, the king lists his names and titles and declares his sovereignty over the Haunabu, the inhabitants of the northern delta and the coastal regions, all of Egypt, Nubia, and the eastern desert, including Sinai, Syria, and the countries southwest of Khartoum. According to the next section, a messenger greeted His Majesty and said that the vile people of Kash, i.e. Kush, northern Nubia, were in revolt. A fight has broken out between them. The last part of the envoy's message stated that some Egyptians settled in Nubia and had sided with the rebellious Sudani people. In Nubia, the Egyptians are driving their cattle out of the stronghold that your father Thothmes built to keep back the tribes of the eastern desert and the south. In response to these words, His Majesty became furious like a leopard And he swore by Ra, who loves me, and by my father Amen, King of the gods, Lord of the thrones of the two lands, that I would not leave a single male alive among them, and among those who were not impacted by his majesty. In the territory of Kash, his majesty's troops vanquished the indigenous populace, exterminating all but one son of the Prince of Kash, who was taken alive along with several of their attendants to his majesty's location. He occupied his throne, and upon the arrival of the prisoners brought by his soldiers, he positioned them beneath the feet of God. The populace rejoiced, and their leaders were pleased when their territory was returned to its previous condition of subjugation. The populace lauded the deity of the two lands for his celestial generosity due to the valor of his majesty, whom his father Amen cherished above all Egyptian kings from the outset, king of the south and north, Akheperenre, the son of Ra, Thothmes II, whose crowns embody glory, stability, and tranquility, akin to Ra eternally. Thutmose III won the Battle of Megiddo in Syria in his 23rd year as king. Departing from Thebes, he advanced into Syria, securing the allegiance of numerous small towns. After navigating the challenging hilly terrain south of Megiddo, he established his camp to be ready for battle. His Majesty erected the tents and instructed his army to prepare their weapons, for we would engage the wretched enemy at dawn. While the king resided in his tent, his officers prepared, and his servants collected their provisions. The military sentinels proclaimed, "Maintain steadfastness of spirit. Ensure your heart remains resolute. Observe the situation meticulously. Monitor the king's life within his tent." The infantry from the north and south readied themselves, notifying His Majesty that the nation was tranquil. In the 23rd year of His Majesty's reign, on the 21st day of the first month of Shemu, March-April, and coinciding with the festival of the new moon, which marked the anniversary of the king's coronation, the entire army was commanded to mobilize at dawn. Amen. His father fortified His Majesty's arms as he traversed in his silver-gold chariot, and he equipped himself with the instruments of warfare, akin to Horus the Slayer, the Lord of Strength, and Menthu, the war god of Thebes. His Majesty was positioned between the two armies, with Amen safeguarding and fortifying him. The southern contingent was on a hill south of the Kena stream, while the northern contingent was south of Megiddo. In a state of panic, upon realizing that His Majesty was overpowering them, they retreated to Megiddo, forsaking their horses and chariots of silver and gold. As the nefarious adversaries from Kadesh and the contemptible foes from this city were swiftly dragged across the borders into this city, His Majesty's soldiers could have seized the town of Megiddo, as the enemies had succumbed helplessly to the terror of His Majesty, and the serpent upon His Majesty's crown vanquished them. The individuals lowered their garments to assist in hoisting the fugitives over the walls. Their gold and silver-plated horses and chariots were pillaged, and their formidable warriors lay on the ground like fish as His Majesty's soldiers enumerated their spoils. The tent of the nefarious enemy chief, containing his son, was also seized. The soldiers celebrated exuberantly and extolled His Majesty for securing victory for his son that day and for his own triumph. After seizing the loot, they gathered it. The deceased were severed, captives were confined, and horses were adorned with gold and silver, among other things. Notwithstanding the army's elation, Thutmose was exasperated by his troops' inability to seize the city. Each rebel leader was present in Megiddo, and its conquest would have been more significant than the seizure of 1,000 other cities, as it would have enabled the elimination of all rebel leaders, resulting in the rebellion's collapse. He subsequently besieged the city, constructed an impenetrable wall, and documented the daily advancements of the siege on a leather scroll later preserved in the Temple of Amen at Thebes. Eventually, the chiefs of Megiddo came to pay homage to His Majesty.